Greetings, family. Welcome to Pan-Africanism towards Nationhood, building a Black global business pipeline, building a global Black business pipeline. Yes, family, this is Bomani Tyehimba, and you're here with Kala Genesis also. And Kala Genesis is having a wonderful day. He's all smiling and happy, and he has this wonderful title for you.
Yeah, in 2011, I did a show on Blog Talk Radio called the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Back then, it was basically I just went after all the coons, Sambos, and everybody. I was just like going off, man. I had a good show. Everybody's like, "Damn, Kyle, you stuck at everybody." You know, I just lined everybody up and just like the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. You know. So we're gonna line people up tonight and whatnot, and they're gonna get it, you know. But tonight's show, I just want to talk about. We never really talk about a character in Black America, right? The Sambo, you know. Now people don't understand. There's a coon Sambo, same thing. No, it's different. A coon is somebody that's far gone. You know, he's far. He's just a coon. He's whatever. He's a clown. He's a coon, whatever. He coons for white people and everything. A Sambo is different, right? A Sambo is a character, right? In many ways, right? Most Black men are, you know, are in their persona with Sambos, you know? In other words, we think we're getting over, but the white man knows this is his world, right? And when he sees us trying to navigate in his world, right? We know how to use bluffing, shucking and jiving, you know, conning, slick talk, you know, and all stuff like this. And it's become a way of life to a lot of Black people. There are people who are Sambos, right? And a lot of people call them coons, but they're actually Sambos. They'll sit there and they'll have white people convinced of that they believe in their own bullshit, you know? You know, they'll be like on stage talking about, oh yeah, preachers, the biggest Sambos. So they get up there and they get your money. They know how to con you. They know how to browbeat you, sort of like threaten you and all stuff like that, entertain you. And also it's all about control. Control without not having real power, okay? See, the white man doesn't have to do that because he has real power. When you get into an argument with a white man, you know what he's saying? He's saying to himself like that. He'll sit back and be quiet, right? And he'll say, you know something? I know I may not be able to whip this Negro's ass, right? But I know with that attitude, right? Officer Dumbfuck is gonna pull him over, right? And that's when they know there's a system that's gonna deal with you. Okay? Whereas a Black man, you know, what we do is we not to be loud, threatening, posturing. We like to put on airs, you know, like we got money. A white man could have lots of money in the bank, right? And you will never know it. You could be sitting next to a millionaire in the restaurant, you would never know if he's white. You could be a white man who drive a car, whatever, like a regular car, Jeep and everything, and you driving there, barely making payments on that Mercedes or Bentley, whatever you got and everything. You know, mortgage your house off and everything to pay that. The white man have a pickup truck, right? But his net worth is like 20 times yours. See, that white skin is like having $10 million in the bank in this society. His value is by his race. Black people, the Sambo, the Black man, right? He has to always try to put on airs like he got money and everything. He has to floss money. What do you see Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg are wearing? T-shirts and old sweaters. You know? But when a Black man has money, he makes sure everybody knows it. This is because we live in a state of captivity. Right now, we live in a thing where they know that they control everything. That the Black people that you see that on top that are making it, are only there because somebody white signed their check. Somebody white make it on. They basically let the first Black man in the major league. We celebrate it. They let the first Black man go into space. A white person signed off on that. We live in a state where white people control our thoughts, our success. They tell us what's successful, and they tell us how to live. They tell us what to live for and everything. We know we're not our own people. We know we're not a free people. And the Sambos that lead us know we're not a free people. That's why you think they can browbeat you to vote for somebody that you don't care. Why do you got to go vote for Joe Biden? I remember Roland Martin was fucking fat face. Hey, if you don't get out there and vote, you're a punk. I'm like, Roland, what you gonna do? Like, you coming across the stage ready to hit somebody, you know? Roland, sit your big ass down, like, oh yeah. And so black people are like, I better go do it. We don't have enough bone to say, something, I don't care about the political process, or I might vote for Trump, whatever. That's my vote. Any other group of people, when the Mexicans say that, something, I think I'm gonna vote for Trump. They're like, the people like, okay, well, what is the Mexican vote going to do? Whereas black people are like, you better vote for who we tell you to vote for. And they got an army of black people shucking and jiving on television, everything, saying all the same stupid stuff, running out, yeah, we got to do this, we got to do this. And they act like they got control over the black masses because it's easy to manipulate, intimidate, and browbeat people. And people like, well, why'd you vote for Joe? I don't know, man. I just felt so much pressure. Was somebody holding a gun to your head at the voting booth? No. Then why you felt pressure? I don't know. Everything. That's how insecure and weak the black man is in America. You hear somebody say something on social media, they don't know you from Adam. They don't know what you're going to do with that poll, but you're so terrified because you're so weak. That's because that comes from slavery. Your manhood and your basic humanity was beaten out of you. So people can easily manipulate you to doing what they want you to do, whether it's voting for Democrats or joining any one of these stupid black cults that pop up every time. Oh, I love Malachi. What does Malachi York do for you? Nothing. But why do you do that? Why? Because somebody beat into your head and you're so weak and you don't know who you are as a person. You let deadly clowns, Sambos, coons, and race hustlers and shucking and jiving fools control you. This is what we have now in all the conscious movements and everything. We have nothing but a bunch of shucking, jiving, and people that know how to manipulate, browbeat people and stuff like that. Is like they don't show you anything. They don't say, look, out of respect, this is what I'm doing, right? Agree to disagree, but this is what I'm doing. If you want to join me, we can go right ahead. This is what No, they don't feel like they're obligated to show you any success. You just beat people to submission, tell them they ain't shit because they didn't give you money, or there's some cause that you say that's important that they better do that. And we're so weak. We're just like, okay, well, where do I sign up? Where do I donate? Where do I send money to? But he didn't give you anything. The Bible says a fool is money soon parts. So people say, I got this project over here. It's going to help people do this. Donate. And you got people out there, yeah, you got to donate to that. For what? Haven't we seen this before? How come people can't show you what they're doing, show you some success, and then if I want to support this, it's up to me, I'll support it. If I don't, why can't we just go back to, okay, I decided not to do that. I wasn't in my best interest. I did. Why is it that I feel like I got to be browbeated into supporting something? That's because we have a Sambo culture where you got the alpha Sambo who leads all the beta Sambos, the masses, into submission. They can tell you anything. They can tell you the moon's made out of cheese, and you'll believe it. They'll tell you to go left, you go left, you go right, you go right, because you have no control over your own will. They don't have to prove anything. They don't have to give you any evidence. They don't have to show you any success. They don't have to even think about showing success. You just do what they tell you to do. That's how all these black leaders and everything have survived for generations and everything. All they have to do is get up on stage, do an act, say the white man, the white man, the white man, or whatever it is they do to get you and beguile you into submission. And that's what we have in Black America. Unlike any other place in the world, at least when you go to Africa, you got charlatans and people like that. But at some point in time, they got to show something. At some point in time, they know when they become president or whatever like that, they got mouths to feed. They got some responsibility. They got to make sure that their borders are protected. They got to make sure the airlines work. They got to make sure that stuff like this. So therefore, they have more credibility than the black leader in America, who's a leader, but he's not elected. He's not accountable to anything. He just gets up there and does his Sambo show and basically look like he's doing something. We're like people are like, well, you're leaders. I'm like, what leaders? Did I elect any of these people to speak for me? Did I ever sit down and say, put your lever and say, Al Sharpton is my leader? Did I ever put down and that ambulance station Ben Crump and said, these are my leaders and everything like that? No. These are people that are put before black people, you know, and you just follow them. They basically doing a 1-2 step. On one hand, they want to be relevant to the white. They always got to, the Sambo always have to be relevant to the white man, you know, white people. The Sambo can operate in a system where if you say, look, the success of our success is us building among ourselves, building with Africa, building on the built infrastructure and stuff like this. The Sambo can't operate in that. The Sambo always have to steer you towards, we got to get something for white people. So they go up there, and the tool of the Sambo is the bullhorn and the signs. Oh, we want this, we want this. And they tell you, you got to support this. They act threatening and everything like that. Yeah, man, we're out here doing this. All they're doing is raising a bunch of hell, trying to get the attention of white people, right? So white people can anoint them as leaders and spokesmen of us, even though the majority of black people don't give a shit about the cause they're talking about. But the Sambo is out there with his signs, his bullhorns, breaking shit up, yelling and everything. And you feel compelled, like, man, if I don't get out there and support that, I might be called a seller. I might be called Uncle Tom and everything. Even though whatever they're fighting for, you are not going to benefit from. As a matter of fact, it might even make your situation worse. We saw that in Minneapolis. We saw that in Ferguson. The black community lost. Because we follow these Sambos that get out there and they pontificate and they act like they're doing something in our name. And we have no ability to say, no, you're not doing that in our name. Well, we're going to about the problem. And then you ask us a question, right? And then on the other side, right, you have the other side of Sambo who goes around and basically his or her job is to make it seem like, and we have a real problem with police brutality in America. You know, why are you wearing police brutality? What about black on black crime? Well, if you were in our community, you know that we have so many community organizations that are battling black on black crime. That's the biggest topic in black culture today. Among ourselves, we talk about murder, killing, and stuff like that. We talk about the degradation of hip hop and the degeneracy, the fracture between black males and black females, colorism, all that stuff discussed in black America every day. But to the Sambo, he doesn't care about that. He knows he can get in front of white people and say, oh, black people, all they want to do is talk about white people and racism and everything, but they don't solve their problem. We are doing a solve part. We're pretty much maintaining our community. Just like every other people got problems and issues that they talk about every day, right? They deal with on every day at the family level, community level, and church level, everything. We talk about these things in our churches, everything like this. And that's how Black America is maintaining itself for the most part. But you get on this television and talk about black people need to go back and clean up this. They need to go back and do this. Well, what about all the people that's doing volunteer work in the community? What about all the people that's doing all these things? What about these people, these brothers that are doing mentoring programs? What about these people that are running food pantries? What about these people that are getting kids ready for college and stuff like that? What about the record number of success and the record number of black businesses that are being created every day in America? That does not exist because it doesn't fit your narrative of there's these people over there in the community that hate white people, and I'm going to be your spokesmouth to make sure they stay in line. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the coons, the Sambos, everything. The people, the worst Sambos are the ones who defend white supremacy. The ones that keep defending white America. The ones that basically want to get up and make it seem like slavery never happened, Jim Crow never happened, and all this stuff like that that afflict Black America. Black America could be just as powerful and rich and wealthy as white America if white America didn't spend the 20th century waging war against our community. They raised social war, propaganda war, economic war, and outright violence and terror throughout the 20th century. You know, towns were burned down, black businesses were shut down, you know, everything they did to support our development and everything. And you say, if black people were doing this, white people were racing with this. White people rejected the best in us. The black community that came pro-Civil War was more successful than the white people who actually went to the West and failed. We had black communities that were thriving post-Civil War. But look, white communities were starving. They were living in the gutters. They went out west. They failed in their crops and everything like that because they didn't slave plantation system anymore. But instead of celebrating the best in us, right, the Sambo will always talk about our failures. They always put our failures up to for view and everything. They don't. They always because talking about black people's failures is an easy way to get in front of a white audience, because that's what white people want to see. They want to see altruistic. They want to see benevolent and everything. They want to see that there's this community. We got to come and be white saviors and rescue them. And so they pick their favorite Sambo they bring them into institutions and everything. They convince them that the white man's way is the best, that a white man's institutions are the best, the white man's way of life is the best and everything. And they completely ignore the fact that the most successful black people came from all black environments, all black institutions, and all black support system. With that, you want to play that Thomas Sowell video, brother? Bomani, you there? So we'll continue talking until Bomani gets back. But
yes, brother, go ahead.
Yeah, that Thomas Sowell TikTok video I sent you. I want to go in on that shit.
You ready to rock and roll? All right, let me see if I got it here. All right, let me try to load it up from here. All right, see, it's more than one.
Well, the Thomas Sowell one. Let me see which one I sent. Let me see. Let me look at it. Okay, it's the scroll up. It's the one that says "Play this Sambo" on it on the bottom.
All right. I mean, it's TikTok. It's a man and a woman. Which one? I don't see that note.
No. The one that says slavery is a universal institution.
Oh, play the Sambo. Gotcha. See the right there. All your weird videos. Let me. You must enjoy. You must enjoy hanging out on TikTok.
Yeah, man, TikTok gets me pissed off, man. You know.
I got it. So yeah. So I got you here. Ready for it? Do you see it? You ready for it?
Yeah, there we go. That turns. It's going. You got to start back. Play the sound.
Go to.
Start back. Oh, there you go.
Slavery has been a universal institution for thousands of years, as far back as you can trace human history. And what we're looking at is if slavery is something that happened to one race of people in one country, when in fact the spread of it was around the world. In 1776, which is when Adam Smith published The Wealth of Nations, as well as when the United States got started, he said that Western Europe is the only place in the world where there is no slavery. And even in the Western Europeans, there's numbers of slaves in the Western Hemisphere, yes, but not in Western Europe itself. And so if you're going to have reparations for slavery, it's going to be the greatest transfer of wealth back and forth, because the number of whites, for example, who were enslaved in North Africa by the Barbary pirates exceeded the number of Africans enslaved in the United States.
That is a bold-faced. Point again. Just stop it. Stop it.
Thousands of years.
That was
as far back as you can trace.
Bold-faced lie. And this guy's a fellow in the Hoover Institute, Thomas Sowell. And these guys like him that sit for generations, all their messages is trying to defend white supremacy. He says slavery was in Western Europe. Does he understand that the Western Europe is where slavery reached its height as far as like wealth? You know, slavery reached its height as its wealth. Slavery in America, slavery in Western Europe, right, was done by banking and financial, and slavery became based on race. He don't understand that. Slavery in the West is based, chattel slavery based on race. Slavery happened post the Age of Reason and Enlightenment. So how do you have reason and enlightenment when you said all the mankind deserves a chance and also that? You had Mother Teresa, Mary Teresa of the Habsburgs, right? Who first published the thing in Vienna of mass education, educating the thing. How did Europe develop for itself the idea that every person needs to be a citizen, every person needs public education? In Vienna, they had the biggest libraries in the world. They knew maps, they knew everything, they knew public administration. They had libraries that go up to the sky when I'm books. And everybody, the most illiterate people were able to go in these libraries, right, and educate themselves. So when they presented this idea of the nation state, of the republic and everything, the rules of citizen, people already conditioned for that. People already conditioned to their role as a citizen, their responsibility as a citizen, the role of the government, you know, the consent to be governed. All these things were developed in Western Europe. At the same time, what gave them that wealth to do that? It was the slave trade, right? The slave and black bodies, and the opium trade, and all these expansions in the West, the Western capitalist system. You know, slavery in America was based on race. That's different than any other situation in human history. He failed to mention that. No other person, no time in history where someone says, just because of your race, you were a slave. That means in America, in America particularly, right? If you were, there were, people don't realize this. Since the 1600s, there were actually free black communities that were thriving in America, right? Not know we were already here and all that freaking nonsense. I'm gonna deal with that tonight too. That stupid nonsense about we weren't slaves and all slavery are here. Some of us already here. No, we were all African Americans, are descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. 100% of us. There was no such thing as Africans in America prior to the transatlantic slave trade. That's a lie. And it's being propagated by people online and everything. That's why I said I try to trust some people online and everything, like this particular TikTok. Next thing you know, I say African Americans, you call it African, or you will call it Aboriginal. They're going to you give them an inch, they take a mile. You say to yourself, why is it the world are you including Aboriginal? What does Aboriginal mean? Black people are not Aboriginal to North America. Our roots and everything are in Africa. Native Americans and American Indians are indigenous to this land, right? Black people are indigenous to the tropics, the warmer climates, the hot climates. You know, then what would the need be for Black people to migrate to America, right? Oh, we came to America before COVID. The Europeans were destitute. They were looking for new lands, new markets, and everything to explore because Western Europe, when they had this age of enlightenment, right? To manifest that, they had to get wealth. They have to open up trade routes. They have to do that because the trade routes that were available there had to cross through Eastern Europe, through Russia, and all these Baghdad and all these other places like that, right? So they needed a new, and also through West Africa. West Africa was a main trade route from the east to Europe. So to do that, when Europeans improved navigation and maritime stuff like that, they started exploring the world. The Portuguese sailed to the Indian around the Cape of Good Hope to the Middle East. So all these countries became maritime countries. Liverpool, England, Lisbon, Barcelona, and all these other places like that have ports. They built massive ships and everything. And so therefore, instead of trade being synonymous with overland trade and trade routes and everything like the Chinese Silk Road that used to exist, everything, the world became a maritime thing. So Thomas Sowell's talking about, he's defending maritime Europe, right? Was just an accident in history, Okay, can you take who's that on line? Can you take them off? I don't want nobody on right now. You know, I want to keep talking. You know, give me like another 20 minutes. Yeah, no.
You're muted, Bomani.
Yeah, I got Dr. K. We'll get you back on in a minute.
Dr. K, give him a few, and then I'll let you back on.
Hang on, we'll get you back on in a few minutes.
Color's on fire. Go ahead.
Yeah. So therefore, when you look at the Western Europeans built these massive empires, right? The people in these countries, it was also by the Western European aristocracy, right? Most of the people in Western, like, let me give you an example, France, right? Do you know that only 20% of the people in France spoke French, right? The idea of France, right, happened under Napoleon, right? We had to make people Frenchmen. The majority of people didn't speak French language, right? That was only done in Paris, right? Same thing in Madrid. Madrid was the place people spoke Spanish. You had the Basque people and everything. All these people didn't care about this idea called Spain. So they had to build these empires up around the world, and then people eventually said, okay, I'm Spanish. I'm part of the Great Spanish Empire. Same thing with England, right? England was broken up into Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, all these other places, right? And therefore, you create this united British Empire. And so if the empire has big wealth around the world, then everybody can be proud of their wealth. But the masses of people in these countries didn't care, or they didn't see the benefit in what the aristocrats and all these other people were doing in their name. That was one of the main reasons for the French Revolution. The French Revolution was like, you got these French aristocrats, right, who are going around the world, slaving people, doing all this stuff, and in our name. You know, that's one of the things that brought about the French Revolution. The French aristocracy, the Spanish aristocracy, the British aristocracy, they made fortunes off the slave trade and everything. And the masses of people in these countries didn't really understand or didn't know what was going on. So when Thomas Sowell gets up there, right, and you ask the average commoner in England, right, like, I had nothing to do with slave trade. You know, those were rich aristocrats. They had nothing to do with us and everything. So he's sitting there trying to defend what wasn't even defended at that time. That's why people say, look, when people actually found out about how the world was, they found out, they wrote stories got around about the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade and everything. There was a movement to stop it. Okay? So how is Thomas Sowell will get his black ass up here and say, oh, slavery exists for thousands of years and everything. And it was wrong thousands of years ago. This is what happens when you're in America, right? Instead of being a man saying, look, white people, you guys enslaved us based on race. And white people want to do anything to erase that guilt. They do that by browbeating black people into submission, right? You could be walking down the street. You could have a friend, a white guy. You could be out with beer and everything. And then you think it's cool and everything. And the next thing it'll pop on you. Yeah, slavery wasn't that bad, you know? Oh, no, dude, man. We were just having a good time. Why you go there? And so what white people do is they go to like black African immigrants and everything like that. And they say, look, see, this guy is not racist. Why not? Yeah, these people don't have a history with you. You know, we've done everything we can. We fought for this country. We did everything we can to make it say like that. But you always got these coons and everything feel like they got to keep apologizing for being who they are. You got people apologizing for being African American. I'm not going to apologize to nobody. If white people don't understand that and say, well, slavery and everything, yeah, deal with it. I'm not going to sit here and say, we always say America is a great country or graphic like that, but just like anything, if you know somebody, let's say somebody killed your father. Let's say that person gave you $1 million, he adopted you, took you in and everything like that. There's no guarantee that that person knows there's no guarantee that you're going to stay loyal to, because fact remains, blood was spilled. America never paid for, or never atoned for, or never repented for the sin of slavery. You cannot let that go. As much as I would love to, everybody would love to be like, let's just all get along and everything. But the problems we have in Black America, right? The problem we have in Black America is tied to that legacy. That's why people, right, are trying to get out of being black. That's why people don't want to be African American. They'll go out there and start calling themselves Nigerians. They'll say, "Oh, I'm from this tribe right here. I'm not African American. I'm like this." Why? Because the pain of slavery is so great, right? And it looked like if America, the world, America has this propaganda. It makes everybody love them. It makes you love America. It makes you love the Southerners and all these other people that did this stuff like that to us. And basically, you cannot love America without hating yourself too. So we've never learned how to get along in America and basically love ourselves. Because what America's saying is what happened to us was just and right. The fact that after slavery, they paid our enslavers for their losses. Do you know that one of the reasons why slavery is so brutal in America is because when you owned a slave, right, you could take out loans and lines of credit on your slave, providing that your slave lives a long life and can produce a lot of work. You could lease out your slave. You could make money on a human body. That means you condemn the person to slavery. He got to work. Thomas Jefferson mortgaged his slaves off. When you mortgage a slave off, they make sure you try to escape. They'll basically kill you and collect the life insurance policy. That wasn't done in ancient times. You're a black body in the state of Louisiana. They have a case called the Brasket versus Louisiana case where they said that somebody was a Native American, right? And somebody tried to enslave a Native American, and the ruling was that only people of African descent are slaves. Native Americans and white people are presumed to be free. That's why you got black people, since that time, black people always trying to be, I'm Native American, because they're still suffering from the trauma of being enslaved by their race. This is why people don't like their race. And this is why this Sambo culture, we have to destroy this stuff in order for us to survive. Racial stuff. There's no reason for African Americans, which one? Somebody want to assimilate back into African. Look. If somebody wants to assimilate back into an African ethnic group, hey, that's fine. Go right ahead. You know, somebody would think they could assimilate back into Africa. Assimilation process takes thousands of years. You got to marry, language, everything like that, and you got to forget. You can't assimilate. Your children could assimilate. Your assimilation means you're going to assume all the stuff like this. You can't do that. Now, you could assimilate if you were like 8, 9 years old and you moved to a place, but a grown person can't assimilate into a culture. It was like that in America. I have friends of mine when I was growing up, right? Their parents and grandparents still spoke Italian. They were unassimilated, but the children played baseball, did all stuff we did. You can't just assimilate into a culture, unless that culture is really, really advanced, really, really advanced. And it's still there. You got Chinese people, right? Who you got Chinatowns in Japan. You say, why didn't they assimilate? You just can't. Chinese have a culture. They have a history. They have a way of doing things. You can't just assimilate people because they're the same race. You got Koreatowns and Chinatowns in Japan. It's been there for hundreds of years. People say, oh, you're going to go assimilate. We're going to go assimilate. Good luck with that. All right, you want to bring Dr. K on?
All right, let me check if he's still available. All right, the stream is up. Those who have questions during the St. Valentine's Day Massacre with Kala Genesis, live on direct.
Yes. So, like I said, that Sambo culture, people getting up there and saying, oh, slavery, he knows that he has a white audience. He knows a white man wants to hear everything, like Candace Owens. She says all the stuff, black people. Like, look, girl, whoever asked you to talk for us, about us, and it's always about black people. And they'll say, well, why black people vote for Democrats? Look, I don't know why black people vote for Democrats, but when I hear Candace Owens, I want to vote Democrat. I'm like, yo, look. So pissing black people off, maligning us and everything, is a way to get us to vote for what? It's all about people wanting to browbeat us, You know, oh, black people, all the problems. They take all our problems. They define us by our problems. We're the only group of people where people feel they can define us by our problems. They can define us by the worst aspect of us. But yet, a lot of people come from these third world countries and these really bad countries that are failures, you know, and they want you to basically talk about the best. Oh, no, I just said, look, man, look, I'm just going to tell you like it is, right? You know, a lot of people come in from countries and whatnot, and I'm like, this is Black History Month, right? And I get so much pride because I look at all the inventions. I always find something new, all the inventions and all the stuff like that Black America did. You go look at the African American Encyclopedia, African American Almanac and everything. And I ask a question, where's our Nigerian Almanac? Where's our Cameroonian Almanac? Where's our Sierra Leone Almanac? Where's all these other people? Where's their achievements? You know, why would I give that up? Why would I give who I am up, the greatness of who I am to like this? Where, I ask the people, where are your contributions during Black History Month? And then now they're like, we're not Black. That's Sambo Afro dumbass, you know? The Blacks, we're Black. We don't identify as Black. So what are you? You don't have no choice in this matter. The world sees you as Black. You're part of the Black race, whether you like it or not. Well, we're Africans. We're African. Well, what the hell does that mean? You know, well, what does that mean? That means you didn't contribute nothing to the world civilization? What have you done for the last 700 years? You know, your best bet is to identify as Black and whatnot and just say, look, we did this, we did this. When I heard a Zimbabwean girl one time, she was debating a white racist and whatnot, and she just pulled out Black history. She said, look at all the Black people that did this, inventors and everything like that as our race. Because that's what you're really up against. For example, I had a debate with this Portuguese guy a few years ago, right, in Angola. And he was like, well, blah, blah, blah. I said, Portuguese, I said, look, I like your Portuguese architecture and stuff like that. I love Portuguese architecture. Their modern architectures and everything like that from the 60s and 70s, beautiful. I like the way they built apartment buildings. I said, but for the most part, you guys can't match up to us. I said, okay, let's go by invention by invention. And I started listing African Americans. I said, what did the Portuguese ever invent? Well, I said, you guys were good mariners and navigators. You gave that to the world. I get that. The spice trade, you open up the Indian, everything like that. But when you talk about the last 100 years, whatever like that, Portugal was a backward state. Black America, we were achieving the sciences, the maths, inventions, everything like that, So how the hell are you going to compare yourself to us? And I shut them up. See, when you know yourself and everything like that, and you know what you represent and everything, a white racist can't come to you or run up on you with anything. I'll put Black America up against any group of people on the freaking planet. And so when you carry that pride in you and that, you don't feel ashamed to be who you are. You don't have to say, I'm a Native American. Oh, no, I'm an Aboriginal. No, I'm African American. I own that. My ancestors came here 1619 in the Carolinas and Virginia. And my ancestors moved to New York, from the Carolinas to New York. My ancestors came from the Great Dismal Swamp of North Carolina and Virginia. I come from Maroons, Black Maroons. And I'm proud of my history. I look at all the stuff, I think we still got land in North Carolina, and the tilling of the fields and everything, the hard work, strong Black men. I come from strong Black men and Black women. These people were dignified. These were strong Black people. Went to New York, took over New York, built the largest Black community in the world, in Southeast Queens. I'm proud of that. That's what I come from. That's what I represent. And that's what I always honor, but the people that came before us. I'm proud of John Johnson of Ebony Magazine, who gave us Ebony Magazine. I'm proud of all the accomplishments we gave to music, art, science, education, all the stuff we gave to the world. I stand on that, but there's people out there, right, who don't take time to learn who they are. They don't think it's important. Let me give you an example. Black people are so quick to throw their heritage, everything away. I don't want to be Black. But white people, basically, a white boy can get out there and he knows, and that when you think of who built this, who created this, whether it's Henry Ford or John D. Rockefeller, right? That's who you're looking at. When you look at him, you're looking at John D. Rockefeller. You're looking at Henry Ford. You're looking at all these great Margaret Carnegie, all these powerful white men, you know, these men that built America. That they're enfranchised. They're part of that system. And their whiteness is there's something they're not going to give up. And so when they call you a nigger, right, what they're saying is, like this, like I said, as soon as you start getting comfortable with yourself, and a lot of immigrants, Hispanic immigrants, Arab immigrants, and everything, they're going to get their wake-up call soon. Because as soon as you start feeling like, oh, I'm American and all stuff like this, Chinese Asians are got that wake-up call. They understand. White people will remind you. I saw this one video where these white girls were sitting outside a bar, some young white girls, good-looking white girls and everything. And they were basically, you know, I don't know if they're drunk or not, sitting in the car. They was in this exclusive area of California. I think it was in Beverly Hills or whatever like that, right? But it was an all predominantly white area. And they were sitting outside of condos, and they were going in on this Filipino girl. And I was like, okay, all these chicks look pretty hot. They're like, they're trendy and everything. They weren't no redneck chicks. These chicks were like, you know, those white chicks that, you know, those type of white chicks or whatever. But they were just basically calling her all kinds of chink, this, that, and the other thing. You don't belong here. This is America. Whatnot. You should go back to Asia, wherever you're from and everything. And the Filipino girl's like, oh, that's really nice. You know, you're really nice. That's really decent of you, right? She didn't know how to respond, right? Because she was led to believe that, okay, I can partake in this America thing, right? I don't have to do anything. And when people get their wake-up call, right, and really understand, white people still see this country as theirs. And the white people, if they were honest, they would admit that. But they won't. They'll let you delude yourself into thinking and let your guard down, think that we're all Americans. The all Americans, when it comes down to go into war, to fight, to go out there and get your limbs blown. I've seen a picture with this one brother. He's in Iraq, has whole face deformed. Young guy. Never going to get a woman, whatever like that, you know, and a leg blown off. In George Bush's Iraq war. A war we should have never been in. So I asked you a question, right? These people, they'll send you to war to fight for them, right? But they won't give you the respect, right? Or honor and respect our ancestors. If any black man says that, you know, I'm here, I'm a U.S. citizen, I understand that, but I'm a conscientious objector. I don't want to serve in the U.S. military. If you do, that's fine. You do want for the military, that's fine. But if you do have somebody says, I have objections because I have not made peace with America, then there's some black men who have made peace with America. They say, you know something, I recognize my ancestry, but I still want to be American. That's still not good enough for a lot of white people. That's where most black people are. Most black people are like, look, I'm an American. I made peace. I'm going to make the best of this country. I love this country. This is my country. You know, that's most black people, right? But that's still not good enough. They want us to get out there after everything and be like, yeah, man, fuck Africa. That's where the ADOS FBA movement come from. Fuck Africa. I have nothing to do with Africa. I hate Africans. You know, I don't want no ties with them. I'm an ADOS FBA. I'm an Aboriginal. That's sending signals to white people that we don't care what you do with Africa. You know, and this ADOS FBA movement is pushed by white supremacists. Why? Because you better listen to this carefully, right? What they want to do is, when the time comes, the United States is going in Africa. They're going to fight with China and these countries. And you're going to start seeing Africa is going to look like Central America was in the 80s. Proxy wars all over the place, refugee crisis, everything. They want to bring that to Africa because they don't have any place else. The military-industrial complex needs to be fed. And they already say Africa is going to be the new frontier of war, conflict, and all this stuff like this. So far, African leaders have kept the America and the stuff like that at bay to the most part. But the reason why they do that is because there still is a pan-African movement out here. But still, Africans pretty much, because of the stuff, because of people like Kwame Nkrumah, because of all the letters and everything that have been written over the years and everything, Africans are still apprehensive about America's intentions in the West. Particularly, a lot of Africans, the history of African Americans in America. That's why every time America needs to do something in Africa, they always got to get a black person in America to be the face of it. You know, Andrew Young, Jesse Jackson, who name the person. They put a black person in there. Now, what they want to do is bypass that system, right, and make black people in America hate Africa. That's why they basically all the stuff you see, this tension between black people and on social media, exacerbated. That's exactly what this is for. It's for to make sure that when time comes, right, like which one, like right now, they're letting Mexicans in, right, but the Haitians that were caught at sea a couple weeks ago, they don't even give them a chance to. They have the 1 foot thing with Cubans, wet foot, dry foot. They made sure all those Haitians were shipped right back to Haiti in a dangerous war zone. Haiti is the only country that has a legitimate claim to asylum. But black people aren't saying anything because you got Haitians on TikTok running their mouth, you know, and everything. And you got fake accounts and whatnot saying shit about black people in America. So we don't say anything. We try it. Would this ever happen like 20 years ago? No. We'd have been outraged at the way the United States government are treating our Haitian brothers and sisters. But that doesn't exist anymore because slowly by slowly, the Sambos have got control of the narrative. The Sambos, the race traders, and all these other people that push this up. What the hell does our beef with Haitians back? We always beef with each other. Haitians and black people, we all that. But when it comes down to it, right? If a Haitian wants to come to the United States and everything, we should be able to say, you know something, we got a place for you, you know? We got a place for you. What's going on in the chat? We got to make Sister Barra a moderator, brother.
No need for moderation, man. Keep going. You don't have to even pay attention to the chat.
Yeah.
No one is saying anything rude or crazy that I see. I'm looking at all the chat. Because I don't want nobody getting out of emotions and just removing people and doing all kind of stuff. I love my haters. My haters make me greater.
Yeah. Oh, just hate. Pan-Africanists don't have a monopoly. You know, bro, I know that's not easy. I think that, yes, not easy. Now, I don't know if that's not easy or not. It looks like, so it's like, it could be Nakmeezy's son, you know? Godstar could be Nakmeezy's son. You know, he looked at the same hat and everything like that. He could be in relatives of like Nakmeezy. You know, as far as like the Pan-Africanist world, right? You know, I don't think people really understand what the real Pan-Africanism is, right? Because Pan-Africanism has gotten a bad reputation because of social media, back and forth. There's a guy that I saw on social media, and I told Bomani about this, right? He was basically, I heard him on his TikToks and everything. Like, we need to do this. I can't wait to get to Africa and find my wife and everything like this, right? Yeah, Africa's the future and everything. And he said, man, I'm just really. Evidently, he run into some Negropeans who hurt his feelings, you know? He said, I can't believe how people are talking like this. That's social media. People are going to say what they won't say in public, you know? I learned that years ago when I went on the Nairaland site for Nigeria. I got my feelings hurt. You know, I said, that's what y'all really think? So social media, don't take it personally, right? He was I just can't believe it. I told him, I said, look, man, we basically thin. You can trace yours to 2,000 years in the Nile Valley. I doubt that. But if you want to claim the Nile Valley, everybody wants to. What is it about West Africa, right? You know, what about West Africa everybody wants to skip over? You know, everybody want to bypass where they came from, you know, and bypass where they came. You do your DNA test, it stops in West Africa, most likely. You know, until you show me for the otherwise. I have yet to see a Negro with his DNA that has anything in East or the Nile region or whatever like that. This doesn't happen. You know, it's a freak of nature if it does happen. You have no DNA in the Nile region. You know, and what is it about West Africa that we hate so much? What is it West Africa that we're so ashamed about? Why can't you just basically say, I'm from West Africa? You know, I'm from West Africa. That's it. I'm from the Central Africa region. That's it. Deal with it. You know, because it's all about like when you start claiming, oh, who said you're West African? Oh, I don't know. Are you African American? Next question: are you African American? You know, okay. If you're born in that region, okay, my apologies, right? But I'm just saying a lot of African Americans go and they want to be everything but what they are. You know, I'm from Kush. I'm a Nubian. I'm all this stuff like this. You know, oh, you're East African. Okay, East African. That's true. Yeah, okay, maybe you are. You know, okay, but I'm saying like a lot of African Americans want to basically be everything what they are, or what they are. Okay. Now getting back to this Sambo culture, right? I told people earlier that the Sambo culture comes from our culture, Black American culture of shucking and jiving. You know, nobody, not. It's all about not having any power. That's why Black comedians can get away with saying things about white people and they laugh. See, you white people out there, you know, blah blah blah, and you get away with it. And the white people out there, oh ho ho ho, Richard Pryor, perfect example. Yo, see, white people, when y'all do this, and the white people chuck and laugh and everything. Why? Because it's power. You're a court jester. The court jester in ancient times, right? The clown, the court clown, and the Sambo in Black America is a modern day court jester. You know, the court jester. You read King Lear's book. He had this fool. What's my fool? And some of the emissaries and court people would use the king's fool to get through to the king, because the fool could say things that everybody else can't say. The fool could get away. His fool, he says, "Where's my fool? Where's my fool?" The fool would get up there. His job is to make the king laugh, whatever like that, say stuff and everything, and he could say things that nobody else can say. It's like that in every civilization, every society. The court jester, the clown, everything can say things and get away with things. That's why they don't care about putting a Black comedian up on stage. He can assault white people all day and everything. He'll never get canceled, right? But the moment a white person says something, why? Because when a white person says something about Black people, even though joking, there's power behind it. The Black comedian don't have any power. The white people recognize Black people don't have a power. That's why they're not threatened by anything you say. They're not threatened by anything Farrakhan says, because they have power. They're the ones in power. It's just like you looking at a bug in a jar, and you're saying, you know, you're not gonna say like this, that bug, and you're feeding that bug, keeping them alive, and you say to yourself, I'm scared of this bug. You know, at any point in time, even though the bug may be fierce and everything like that, it may sting you, right? You know, at any time you can kill that bug. That bug's life is in your hand. You know, that insect's life is in your hand. Same thing, the situation we find ourselves in America. White people really do not fear Black people because they have power and we don't. So the Sambo culture, why do you think they let Black people, they say we have the Super Bowl. We're making all the money, billions and billions of dollars, right? At the expense of the Black man. Without young Black men getting brain hemorrhage, everything, there will be no Super Bowl. But how do we get the trade-off? We own everything. We're making these billions of dollars. We got white people making money that don't break a sweat. How is that justified? What we do is we get a partner. We get a Sambo to do our bidding, to come along. And the hip-hop world has produced a lot of them. Let's get P. Diddy. Let's get Jay-Z. Let's get Snoop and Dr. Dre. They're going to be doing their stuff and everything like that. And they're going to be doing it. They're going to be doing this stuff like that. And we're going to be watching it all the way to the bank. Because Jay-Z did after the Super Bowl and everything like that, Rock Nation and all the stuff like that, did the Super Bowl. Everybody's happy and whatnot. Everybody's not happy. Kala Genesis is not happy. Because we're wasting freaking time dealing with white people. They're making billions of dollars, getting richer and richer and whatnot, you know. And we have no Black African infrastructure. We don't have no banks. We don't have none of that stuff like that. But you were entertained by the Rock Nation and Jay-Z and everything. And Jay-Z might get a piece of the NFL. We're talking about Jay-Z. So you might have one Black man who's bought and paid for by the establishment, one Sambo who's going to get up there and Sambo and do all the stuff like they say when I hear him Snoop, all these guys are Sambos. All these guys are nothing but bought and paid for race traders. It's been 200, almost 300 years we've been dealing with Sambos representing us in our culture and everything, and we still can't get rid of them. So before, they had step and fetch it. They had all the stuff like this, right? And we just sort of dealt with it and everything. Now they were saying, you know something, we're gonna step our game up. We're gonna make this Sambo the center of Black culture. So people who are paid puppets and clowns right now are misleading and leading us and whatnot. And that is the truth. I know you guys, I enjoyed the Super Bowl, we do like that, but let's talk about truth. That didn't solve anything. White people are saying to themselves right now, look how great, we had all this problem and everything, but look at everybody dancing, having a good time, eating pizza, we're running down like that, and all we have to do is get rid of people like Kala Genesis, and everything will go through, because they got Black people convinced that everything is peachy king and everything. Everything is not. We still don't have power. We still don't have no power to nuclear weapons. We still have no ships, no battle ships. We still have no army. We have no way of protecting ourselves. We're still at the mercy of another race of people, the descendants of the people that enslaved us. At any point in time, they can destroy us. So no, I'm not happy. Now, if you want to be happy and everything, you go find some other Pan-Africans to follow. You go find those other people and everything. I don't give a damn about the football, the NFL. I don't give a damn about the Major League Baseball. I don't give a damn about basketball. I don't give a damn about the music industry. I don't give a damn about the movie industry. Until we have a land, a nation of our own and everything, until we can, our people could basically say that they could swear allegiance to their own country and everything, even when they're living in America, there's no deal. I want to be in America because I want to be here, not because they cut off all avenues for us to escape. They destroyed the Garvey movement. Right now they're trying to destroy the relationship between Africans and African Americans. I'm not happy. By no stretch of the imagination, I think any of this stuff is funny. You want to call me an angry Black man? Go right ahead. Yes, I'm angry. Anybody tells you that another race of people are going to rule over you for another 1,000 years and you got nothing to say about it and everything, but just be happy and everything, that person is a race traitor. That person is a Sambo. That person deserves, I'm not going to say it on this air. So, Kala, you don't want nobody to have no fun. That's what the thing about niggas, You always want to have fun. When Marcus Garvey said what he said in Madison Square Garden 100 years ago, 100 years, the position of the Black man has not changed. While you buck dancing, Sambo, and entertainment on that, the Asians said, you know something? We're getting fucked. They had the Bang Dong Conference in 1955. In 3 decades, they had caught up with the West, the people that enslaved them. And the Black race is still on the bottom and going down. Unfortunately, many Africans prefer Hymeket because they believe that was zenith of ancient tech. They don't believe in a kingdom. Yeah, they don't know about any other kingdom. I think, to be perfectly honest with you, and they always judge civilization by what the white man does, right? The pyramids and everything. If you really look at it, the Mali Empire, in many ways, is way more advanced. Timbuktu, the University of Sankara, and all these other places like that, the trading system on the Nile region, all those cities with trading ports and everything. The Mali Empire was the biggest economy in the world at the time. The biggest trading system in the world was in Mali. Scholars came from all over. It was a place of wealth and comfort. People had townhomes and everything like that in the city. People don't know anything about these kingdoms and the Congo and everything like that. These big cities that we had: Kano, Oyo, Benin City, Ife. All these great cities and kingdoms that Africa, in West Africa had and whatnot, are all forgotten about. Everyone wants to talk about Egypt, the pyramids and everything. I have nothing against that. But the reason why is, like I said, the Sambo culture. Now, the white man start going there and talk about the Mali Empire and everything. Everybody, we don't rally until the white people. The white women created the woman king talk about the homie. Right away, everybody want to talk about the homie. It's only when the white man or white people put value on something that we want to follow it. Okay, all I said, I don't mean anything but above comment, but we naturally defensive when it comes to culture. We will focus on the real enemy. Yeah, well, yeah. You know, okay, the problem is that we don't have any ADOS infrastructure, but rather don't use it. Well, I don't like the ADOS terminology. I say African American. You know, I don't use that terminology, ADOS, because it's divisive. You know, me personally, African Americans, the heritage. All basically, when I hear a person born in America and he say, yeah, this is Black History Month, like that, and he identifies with thing, but there's a lot of African Americans who don't identify with their history. They'll say, well, somebody invented this. What does that got to do with me? So when you got a person who don't have any consciousness, like I said, before you can start doing anything, whether you believe whatever your thing, if you believe in America or you believe in Africa or you're pan-Africanist, you have to have a Black consciousness. If you know who you are, if you say I'm Black and everything like that, then I can accept the fact that you want to be American. But what happens is this: we got people like Candace Owens and Thomas Sowell, right? They have no Black consciousness. So their defending of America is disingenuous. I could defend America as a conscious Black pan-Africanist. I could say, yeah, America did this, America did that, we did that. But I'm doing it from a standpoint of I'm going to give America credit when it does good, and I'm going to condemn it when it does bad. I'm also going to do what's in the best interests of humanity, my fellow man, and my community. If those things aren't met and we're not, then America be damned. But these people are saying, you be damned, Black be damned, defend America at all costs. White people don't even do that. I always heard white people say, yeah, man, I've heard when I was growing up, I had white guys tell me, yeah, man, I didn't like the fact that my ancestors was Catholic and discriminate. I said, Catholic? You can just change your religion. And I had Jewish friends say, yo, man, Jews went through and everything like that. I'm still there. That's why we got Israel in case something happens. These people would say that to me, right? But you as a Black man, you are not allowed to say, yeah, slave. Oh, how dare you talk about America like that? You don't ever talk about America as a Black man. Everybody else can put their grievances and say, America did this and everything, and you're giving empathy and sympathy. But when it comes to the African American, right, nobody wants to hear what we have to say about our pain and everything like that. We're still reconciling with. How do we reconcile with a country that never paid us reparations, that never basically atoned for what it did, that went out the way to pay our slave masters reparations, but not us? At the same time, they send us to war, and they always putting up there how proud Black America is. They want to take credit for all our accomplishments and achievements. They want to call everything Black. Let me give you an example, like Liberia. Liberia is a beautiful country, but you got white people talk about, look at America and Africa. This is America and Africa. When we do something on our own and we create something great, they want to claim it. They want to claim, like Paula Deen. They want to claim soul food as Southern cooking now. They want to claim rap and hip hop as an American art form. When something is good that they can use and everything, it's suddenly them. And the Sambos will go along with it. The Sambos will be up there buck dancing and shining. Yeah, we Americans and all this kind of stupid nonsense and everything. But when there's problems in Black America, right, when somebody commits a crime, those people, the 13%, they commit all the crimes and everything. But when it comes down to something that they like the Super Bowl, all of them watch the Super Bowl. They're all dancing and doing that thing and everything like that, having a good time. They'll throw in their Snoop Dogg records and everything like that. They'll enjoy the culture, enjoy everything Black America has to offer, but they don't want us. And the Sambos are perfectly happy with that. They emphatically claim West Africa when it comes to the light and central, was it West Africa, modern day Mediterranean, the Yoruba time? Modern day, yeah. That was the city of Wallata. That was a highly advanced city. It's in modern day Mauritania. It was part Almoravid people and indigenous local African people, and what I'm hearing, Persian people, and some people from other parts of West Africa that's lived in the city. And out of that came the Kingdom of Ghana from the Soso tribes and everything. And the tribes to the south, they created the state of Ghana because the Black people were the majority. But Mauritania, they didn't like the fact the French came in there and told the white Mauritanians, our Maoris, that you're different from the blacks. You know, even though people mixed and matched back in ancient times and everything, it didn't really make a difference. They walked around the streets. So if you had black skin, you had brown skin, you had white skin, it didn't matter. But the modern interpretation of Mauritania is they want to give the credit for the civilization solely to the whites that were living there. You know? But anybody coming in, what happened to Dr. K?
You scared him off.
Oh, okay. No, I don't think he was scared. He probably would say something, but when I'm on, right, the first like hour, I want to talk. You know,
He's one of your VIPs.
Yeah. But after I say the first hour, then people are allowed to come on. You know, they come on. They're like, they want to talk, they want to chat, whatever like that. But yeah. So like I said, beginning about the Sambo culture. You know, shucking and jiving. You know, bullshitting, trash talking. You know, and I did not want this. I always thought that Pan-African world, the Black Pan-African, the nation building world was serious, right? And no real Pan-African should be engaged in this nonsense. But why? Because this is the sort of serious topic, you know, serious thing that, you know, people have to be serious. When people see me, most of the time I'm talking about business. I'm talking about science. I'm talking about technology. I'm talking about infrastructure. I'm talking about politics and everything like that, right? And then I give people some entertainment. I joke and stuff like this, you know. But when you're basically, it's all entertainment. It's all beef and stuff like that. Yes, that's a problem, you know. And so what we have to do now in the Pan-African world, right, is get back to serious nation-building topics and everything. The idea that I'm saying that you could be a Pan-Africanist, right? And you don't really have, you could support Pan-African goals and ideas, okay? What are Pan-African goals and ideas? These are things that are universal to all of us. Don't we all believe that every person in Africa should have a good life and everything? I personally, and people don't like when I say this, right? I don't think at this point in time there should be any African billionaires. You know, I believe in people say, Kala, you a socialist and everything. I don't know what you took call it. But when I look at countries and you got billionaires and you got people living with no lights, water, education, everything like that, I'm telling you, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. That's not in the Pan-African spirit. The Pan-African spirit has to translate into a betterment of our fellow Africans. I believe as a human right, every African should have the basics: running water, transportation, communication, okay, education, basic health care, basic dental care, all the basics. You know, if you can, electricity, constant electricity. I think all those things, right, should be the basics, the foundation. Now you could charge people when they make money and everything, but I believe everybody as a baseline should benefit from the government. I don't think anybody should go hungry. I don't think children should be on the street corners, right, selling food. They should be in school, enjoying their childhood. I'm gonna say this, and this is the most important thing I want to say. I think if the Pan-African world can't give the African children their innocence back and their childhood back, then you shut the hell up about Pan-Africanism, because it's a failure. I don't see any Pan-African saying, look, it's all about themselves. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. You know, you got grown-ass people. I want to build this way. They never say, we're going to do this for the children. Because we failed. Generation after generation failed us and everything. So we're going to stop right here. And we're saying by this time, in 20 years, the children born in Africa are going to have a decent life, no matter what it costs us. And then those children will understand they're going to defend what they have. Right now, you have no right to ask anybody to defend Africa. When you got countries like Equatorial Guinea, the president is raping all the the state budget, his personal bank account, and his sons all over the world. You have to have Orange County, California, right, arrested, seize his property or whatnot. You got to have France and all these countries that are robbing Africa saying this is going too far, and they're persecuting. Anytime you got to have a court like the Hague governing Africa because we can't give people basic justice on the continent, we got to outsource justice in our courts to a higher power, which is Europe. How the hell are you going to call yourself a pan-Africanist? Stop using that word pan-Africanism. If you can't say our goal is to make sure everybody on the continent gets justice, human rights, a basic way of life and everything, that's the future of Africa. You know, and then we say, then you can go to Black America and say, this is what we're doing right here. Join our Pan-African world. And Black America will join you. But they're not going to leave America and go into the abyss where the unknown, where the Pan-African has not given you, the Pan-African world have not said, this is what we believe in, this is what we're building towards. You know, African Americans are pretty much a just people. That's why we chose to listen to Martin Luther King and the civil rights people and the Christians over the Nation of Islam and everybody else. Because we saw it was based on justice. It was based on getting things done, you know, and stuff like this. If you want to draw Black America out of America and everything like that, right, you have to basically come match them with that. The Pan-African world has to stand for justice. It has to stand for truth. It has to stand for righteousness and good. As I say, this is our goal. Our goal is to be good. Our goal is to be better men. Our goal is to be honorable men. And say, this is what it is. And then what happens is this. Now, America has to compete against that. Right now, there's no competition. Because even though America is unjust and everything, Black people still got money here. They got a way of life here and everything. And they're going to continue taking abuses in America forever. And so Africa and the Pan-African world, until we build Black African infrastructure, like I said, you know, and in Afrikstan and all stuff like that we're talking about, right? Where we can be, the pendulum will swift in our hand. Right now, it's not there. We get more fight. We say, Kala, why are you guys coming after? Why are you guys building that? Because we're trying to build a future for our people. All the things. Imagine if all the communities that we could build, these hundreds of communities around the continent, building enclaves, building new cities and everything. Cities based on hope, justice, and equality, and opportunity, and everything like that. No racism and everything like that. Black people in America will flock to there. You wouldn't have to even ask. There'll be a list of people trying to get in. But you in the Pan-African world don't think Black people in America are worth talking like that. You just want to browbeat them like a Sambo culture. Oh, just go to Africa. Just go to Africa. Just go to Africa. That's a Sambo culture because you don't have any respect for the Black people. You don't think you have to put anything in proper perspective. You don't think you have to be organized. You don't think you have to have your stuff together. You know, just tell you, send me money, build it. I'm going to do this and everything. You just have to listen to me. That's that Sambo culture I talked about at the beginning of the show. The Sambo doesn't think he has to be to do this. This is why it's dangerous when people get into these movements, whether it's Pan-African, whatever, and they don't have to show you anything. They don't have to prove anything. They don't even say, give me 5 years to show what I can do. And then before I ask you for any money or anything like that. That's why I said, I want to get it right. Before I start asking people to support me financially and everything and what I'm doing, it's my ducks going to be right. I don't care if it takes me 30 years. I'm going to do it right. Why? Because I have respect for my people. I have love and respect for my people. If you don't love your people, you know, you just tell them anything. You know? Yes, freedom, justice, and equality. Okay, have you ever heard any Pan-Africans talk like that? Freedom, justice, and equality? No. No one ever talks about that. No one talks about, well, how would this Pan-African world look at? Will there be freedom? Will we have liberty? I love Liberia. Liberia talks about liberty. It's enshrined in the Constitution, liberty. We're about liberty to this day, right? Despite everything, Liberia will never give up that their liberty. They don't care how poor they are and everything like that. They love their country because it's a country that's free, has liberty. How often you hear Pan-Africans talk like that? No. but they want you to follow them. So, real change is manifested in the shadows. I don't know what quite that means, but the bottom line is we have a lot of people that lead black people all over the world, and we listen to them, we follow them, or they just do what they want to do. We don't say nothing, and they speak on our behalf. And we talk, right? But the problems that we have in Central America, the Caribbean, everything, are the problems people have been talking about for the last 100 years. And nothing has really changed. We talked about we need to build trade between all the black people in the world. Asia got the Pacific Rim countries, whatnot, that are out, that now passed Europe and the North Atlantic. North Atlantic used to be the main trading region, industrial region on the planet. Now that shifted to Asia. And all the time, the black continent, the African continent just sat there and did nothing. Sat there and never developed. Never got into the game. Never been part of the production, the supply chain. Never gave the world anything, Never produced anything that the world needs. Because we listen to charlatans and people that run around and talk and everything. So, is anybody calling in, Bomani?
Nobody is calling in.
Do I really intimidate people, man?
Yes, sir.
Intimidate people. I haven't got to Umar Johnson. I haven't got to Umar Johnson yet. My favorite guy. Now, my whole thing is this with Brother Umar, and like I said, make no mistake, right? I understand black culture in America is Sambo culture, right? So if you want to be a leader and attract people, you just come off as a comedian. You come off as an entertainer, You come off making jokes, shucking and jiving and everything, And by the time you know it, you're walking out with the bag. That's what preachers do. They get you on a sermon or not, get you like that. They browbeat you, right? They tell you you're sinning. They tell you that right now, And then next thing you know, the ushers come up the aisle, right? And here it comes, right? Time to pay the piper, right? That collection plate comes out. You're out there to say you put money in that damn collection plate, And bottom line, you've been entertained, you got spiritual fulfillment, everything. It's time to pay, I saw this one thing where this guy was like, the preachers went to this guy, right? And they said, you haven't been paying enough tithes. I didn't know there was a minimum, right? I never remember that. I thought you just pay what you pay. They said you're supposed to pay 10% of your earnings, right? This thing got a raise when they found out about it. Church found out about it, right? Like, I've been paying enough for that. And like, you ain't paying enough, nigga, Like, everybody have to fight. You were deacon and whatnot. You better pay that goddamn money, We like we got it right here, We got it right here. All the money you ain't paid, you better come on with that money. But Black America, right? We let preachers and all these other people, hoodwink us and stuff like that for generations, I thought that, that we live in an age where with social media and stuff like that we're smarter and everything. And we still got the same thing. We still got people like Tariq and all these other people who could do stuff. But like I said, I like this is what I say. Black America is worth $1.5 trillion a year, right? We spend our money frivolously on everything, right? So out of that 1.5 trillion, if somebody like Tariq got $1 million, a couple of million, whatever it is, I don't care. If Umar got a couple of million out of black people, I really don't care. I don't care anymore. But at the same time, that does not mean that you get a pass at telling black people what to do. Isn't that fair? Isn't that fair? You making your money, you're making a hustle and everything like that. I get that. Black people are always going to support people like that who they like. You can't tell them any different. But at the same time, just because you're doing that and everything, don't mean that you get to tell the community, right, what to do. You can't get up here and say, oh yeah, who I blame in the community is black men who are living stuff. So you mad at these dudes. And what it is Umar is angry that class of black men don't support him. You know, that class of black men like myself, right, who live in the suburb, run businesses and everything like that, we don't support them because we have no confidence in them. We wrote no confidence. You know, and the people that support him are basically low IQ black people, you know, stupid people, idiots, you know, who support him. You know, they see nothing. Me personally, bro, if I put my money behind somebody, you better be top notch. I searched high and low, man. I searched the world, man, and I can find fools, buffoons, clowns, rejects, and everything, but I can never find an honorable man. Hey, just give me an honorable man. When are we in the Pan-African world going to have an honorable man at the forefront? Someone that basically has the dignity to say, look, we're going to do this. You know, he's powerful. He got all the education. He got an MBA. He's rich. He got all sorts like that. He's not looking for money, but he sees the message in building, nation building and stuff like that. When is that person going to come along? You know, you already know what we're up against. The white man got Jay-Z. You know, these people sitting around waiting for Jay-Z. Jay-Z's going to one day see the light. That's what thinks. That's what Umar thinks. He thinks he's going to say, I'm the Sean Carter. He really thinks he's going to get with these rappers and they're going to come support him. He really thinks that. What's up, Dion? What's up, brother?
Hey, Greens, Dion. Greens, brother. What's happening?
Not much. What's going on with y'all, brother?
To the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yeah, we're going off on the coons.
Yeah, I hear Kala going off as usual.
Yeah.
Hey, Bomani, I was listening to the Liberian thing you did for the last couple of days. Pretty good. Thanks for the information. I learned a lot.
Absolutely, definitely. That's what we're building from the ground up. So, you can always just review whatever we have on the site. Just try to lay it out nice and smooth to get us clear about what we're doing. But yes, it's building it up, working towards that journey, and Kala's getting ready to go, so he's gonna lay some things down. And
you going this year, Kala?
Yeah, I would be there now. Last year, I think, but I got business. You know, when you got business has to come first, right? I got a major contract with a campaign, and my name and reputation on the line. I think I can let Africa hold off for a second. You know, I got business here. People, just go. No, business comes first. Your business and everything like that comes first. So I have to delay it. I'm gonna try to go in March. You know, I was supposed to be there, but I had to delay it. You know, this opportunity came on my lap or not, and I had to take it. You know, with my insurance agency. You know, I got a contract. So far, everything's going good and everything. I told Bomani I learned how to use Excel, whatnot. You know, somehow I really want to do something and whatnot because I hate all that shit. Right? You sitting there, you try to figure that shit out because you know your name, reputation, everything's on the line, right? And you know that's what I said. If you really want to make it in this world, and right like that, you won't make any excuses. You learn what it needs. Like if I have to go to YouTube and learn how to do something or not, I'm gonna do it. You know. And so once I get done with this campaign, I want to be over in Liberia and I want to be able to relax. You know, I was gonna try to work while I'm over there, but I can't rely on that when that. So when I get over there, I want to sit back and relax. I want to stay like 3 weeks or maybe a month and just relax. And basically, I got a lot of business to take care of when I'm over there. You know, then I got a lot of work when I got to get over there, get an office set up and everything like that, and all all my business partners, everything. I got to start getting them, getting them. The BAO chapter in Liberia is booming. I mean, really booming. You know, when I tell you that the connections I gave Bomani, stuff like that, and the people we got on the ground, if Liberia is an excellent country to really, if you want, let me say this too, brother. To me, it's all about having power, right? Power. Mm-hmm. And with Liberia, because we're Black African Americans, and because you got Liberians who think like we do, and because of the history, right? In Liberia, you have a sense of power. You feel it, You feel it. People treat you with respect and everything like that. And what I'm seeing, and I'm not going to knock any other African country, right? But when I see a video where a girl talk about, oh, so what if the police got to arrest you and everything? Look, I'm going to any place I go to. I want power and respect. I'm not going to beg nobody for anything. In Liberia, I don't need to ask for a passport and everything. I can do everything I want with a U.S. passport. I don't have to get on my knees. Please give me a passport. Please give me a passport. I can do everything, you know, and that's power, you know. When people say I need a visa, and you got to beg. Don't ever beg. You know, you never get on your knees to anybody. You know, if the people in the countries that want to give you a visa or a passport and everything, that's fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like this, you know. I believe that, you know, don't lower your dignity. You know, don't lower your. And I understand why Ghana is apprehensive about giving them a passport, because it has to mean something. That citizenship has to mean something. It's more than just having.
So, Kala, let me ask you this: you think you could build faster in Liberia as opposed to Ghana? Like build businesses and things like that?
Yeah. Yes. I because it's just there's no haggle. I've heard the horror stories in Ghana. They want 30% of your business. They want this. They want that and everything like this. You know. And also, you understand something. The land laws and the property laws in Liberia, just like America. You know, have like a chief or village. You know, it's the land laws in Liberia are just like, you know, the land laws in America. You know, because the way the country was set up. If you have property, also I like that when I was over there. It's like, yo, this guy's Edwin Snow's over 8 inches on my line. I make him pull out that fence. I said they understand, because I know a lot of countries in Africa, right? They don't understand what lines mean. Everything in America, when you talk about this is my property and stuff like that, and that's why we had that issue of Friancra. You know, a lot of locals didn't understand. A lot of people went over there with I got a property, I got this, and the locals didn't understand that. They're like, okay, well, no, I got the deed. And it was a cultural thing, you know. Property to us, you own it, that's yours, you know.
Right.
They're like, we don't understand land ownership and everything like that, you know. You know, it's still our land, so you're gonna start paying. Say, look, I paid for the land, it's mine, right? I'm paying taxes on it, right? Why am I giving everybody that comes around talk about you owe me money? And people just buying them off everything, and then that was a conflict, you know. In Liberia, you don't have that. You don't have that situation, you know, because people understand, you know. Okay, property is yours. It's a whole.
How are the prices compared to Ghana?
They're much cheaper.
Less, much cheaper.
Okay, and that's on the coast. You know, you go to the interior, it's real cheap. You know, real cheap. You know, I have one of my partners, Sam Cooper. He has 300 acres in Marshall. We're going to try to incorporate that, and then he has another 300 acres of forest, 1,000 acres of forest land, and Ross and all them. My guy Ross and whatnot. You know, they're doing. Like that. I got one of my guys in the BAO, Mike Akins, right? I think one of the guys was trying to get on that one time. He's going in July to start looking into farming and stuff like that.
That's the brother up here, right?
Yes, the governor in Chicago. You should get with him. You know, Mike Akins. You know, Mike Akins.
Is there a way you can send me his personal info?
Go on the Ning site. Just look him up on the Ning site. You know.
Okay. All right.
Go on the Ning. Look at Mike Akins. Friend request him on the Ning site. That's where everybody meets. You know, the Ning site. You know. But he does fiber optics. He has a trucking business. He does all that stuff. Like, he's a city contractor. Only thing about him is, right, but he's one of the guys I was going to send to Angola a couple of years ago, right? Yeah. He gets these work orders. Chicago, they got these big contracts. I said, look, bro, Africa's not quite like that, you know? The city of Chicago got billions of dollars, right? You can't just bring a business to Africa and think you're going to get the phone's going to ring on home. You got all these contracts and everything like that. They're going to be like, okay, well, how are you going to pay for it? Like, I'll build a city. I said, you can't just hand the city, a country, Africa, the bill. We got to look strategically here, you know? They ain't like Chicago. We just build a city of Chicago for your work and everything. They ain't like that, bro. So I had to show them a little stuff, you know?
I got you.
I appreciate it, Kala. Let me do two things. Let me bring in a guest. That way, that's once people come in, we just at least let them in and just introduce themselves. They don't think we just don't see them. And also Dion. Dion was I want to say you had a question about the ladies in Liberia and what we're doing in Liberia before.
I mean, I kind of understood just from listening what you're doing, so I don't really have a question. Saying I appreciate it, but yeah.
All right, cool. So
give somebody else the space.
Oh yeah, and I got it. I just want to make one point to add to Kala Genesis and what we're talking about. So the situation is it's like some people don't know these laws and they don't know certain things. So what people don't know, they don't know. So I'm always telling people before they make a certain move, just reach out to us for consultation and things like that. Because as we find out more about what's going on in different countries, so everything that you just did, what we're talking about in Liberia, we're going to explore and check it out and get a feeling, get a connection to it. At the same time, too, that is the goal is to get away from this. Just like Kala said it, just make things smooth and easy. So we've been talking, networking, connecting, and putting together a nice plan for our brothers and sisters to just make a nice, smooth connection over to Liberia. So that's the next move and thing. So, and so the goal is to work with a whole lot of different things because you're trying to find the right connection for different people. Because not everybody here is looking to go to one place, and some places just don't work for most people. Like I would say, like for those who have a serious game plan and can deal with the pressure, Ghana will work for you. But if you're not going to be able to deal with that pressure, you're not going to be able to work with certain people, and it's going to be a little tough. So the goal is to just find some unique people, and that's what we're doing, man. So if you're open to coming, or you're open to, if you have a big group of people and you just want to talk about getting them there, all that is all good.
I do want to talk about that, and I'll call you, and then we can chop it up because that's exactly what I was thinking.
Absolutely. So I'm talking.
I'm gonna be on that Liberia trip, bro.
Get that energy going.
I guarantee you, you're gonna have the Kala Genesis. That's gonna be the trip of a lifetime.
So Kala's going to, when he's going, he's gonna. I guess he's gonna just go.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be doing my speeches. I got 2 speeches, one on Province Island and one in Santa Quella.
And we just give your brother Ross the camera and tell him to make it widescreen and and you just deliver and present like you always do. Let me let our sister in, and but yeah, and that was honestly the last thing, Kala. Literally looking forward to you going, checking things out, and we're just communicating, and we just keep that connection going. But the series, what we're doing is just putting out positive information about Liberia. So this is like the several interview, because we've done one with many different people. So we just keep on doing them, and we'll keep on circulating them and doing them. And what it is just putting out positive content as far as Liberia, the history, the culture, and just really just getting us to see all the relevant connections on what our ancestors built, and that we shouldn't just abandon that and just take advantage of it. And sometimes timing is right, and right now seems to be a good timing. So anyway, my sister, let me let you own, and greetings, sister. How are you? Welcome to the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yeah, ain't coming back from this one, bro. Now when people start saying,
"Can you hear us?"
Sambo culture is black. And let me tell you something, bro. I Sambo a little bit, right? Sambo is just how black men, survived in America without being threatening. We get our point across. We're the court fool. We're the jester. That's how we survived in America. Our preachers, our leaders and whatnot. They know how to entertain us and everything like that. That's how we think. There's no real power behind black men, what we do and whatnot. So we're saying we just play this role. We just shucking and jiving, bullshitting. That's how brothers do, man. That's how we do. What happened to the sister, man? She fell off again?
Yeah, she fell off. And
at Boost Mobile.
Yeah, and the last thing, Dion, and it's to everybody listening. Our goal as family is to get right to the point with stuff. By me analyzing all the little setbacks that we have had in the African continent, we could have literally built a whole new nation, man, with all the loss of revenue, loss of business, loss of so many things. So, family, these are real stories we're telling you, man. So you gotta literally just have a serious game plan. It's don't try to be making any move to impress anyone or saying, hey, they're killing all the black people here, so you just feel like you just need
to just jump on a plane, go to Africa, okay.
So that's why we're making sure that we give you a nice country, and people may say, well, Liberia, they had this going on. Well, all the elements of things are in place for you now. So if you want that, you need to go there and help them build it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Every country
so at the end of the day, family, it's still no free lunch.
Yeah. We have to do everything. I have my guys there. Well, one of my partners, he's an ex-military with Charles Taylor. He said, yo, man, we're going to work on building like a backup militia. He said, our goal is to have a militia in every county. So if anything happens, we back up the state, that's what we're looking at, So when I get over there, we're going to start putting that together, teaching brothers self-defense and whatnot, and all stuff like that, our Boy Scouts and all that stuff like that, how to patrol neighborhoods and everything like that. We're trying to make Liberia the safe haven to launch into the whole entire continent, and I believe Liberia safe haven, that launched it. So and you could be interested in any country in Africa, but I believe Liberia will be a place to launch from, And
hey, what's the currency exchange rate?
It's 160 to $1.
Okay.
Not bad. But a lot of people use the US dollar and the Liberian dollar is 167. That's held now for 3 years now. That exchange rate is held good for 3 years. It was one time it was like 135 for a long time. Now it's about the 167 for $160 for $1. That's basically held that for a living. So they're doing the best they can with their nickels and dimes. When you look at the country, what they have, I had to tell them. I said, look, you guys are impressive with your nickels and dimes, whatever resource y'all got. Y'all making everything work. The airport works. The streets work and everything like that. You go to government agencies, they all work and everything. I said, whatever y'all doing, you're doing, y'all maintain it. I say, yeah, and the bottom line is this, man, the people seem happy there, No, you can't, the average Liberian is not thinking about coming to the United States. They love Liberia. They're not about coming to America. They say, man, come on visit, but they, when you go to Liberia, they have this connection with Black Americans so strong. It's like it's not even necessary to come to America, and so the country is going. It has what Liberia needs now is that strong connection with African American institutions. People with business skills and investment money. People that can make money. When you invest in Liberia and you're partnering with people on the ground and you're paying people and you're creating jobs and everything like that, you're a hero. You're a partner. Is
okay.
And they don't take much to get along. A little bit of seed money, a little bit of investment, whatever you're doing and everything like that, can go along, especially in property management, property development, stuff like that, or whatever you want to build.
Hey, Kala, I got a question.
I
got a question.
Yeah.
You think we could charter a plane? My cousin was telling me to charter a plane is not as expensive as we thought. Like maybe like 50,000. And I'm just sitting here thinking if we could, like Ghana Airways is about to open back up, right? And I was debating telling my buddy just like it's enough Africans going back and forth, and we always got to stop through, everywhere.
Let me speak on that.
Yes, sir.
I thought about that. Liberia used to have their own internal called the Pepper Bird route. Their own plane. It's still in Jane Springs Airport right there. But right there, the kids play soccer on the field when they're not there, right? You see it right there. But that's historic, right? That was called the Pepper Bird route, where local planes would fly to the interior, fly around, fly to capitals and stuff like that. Liberia always had that, airports and local airports. So that could be a thing. I had one guy. His name was matter of fact, his name was Dion too. He was in the BAO a couple of years ago, and he was like into aviation, and he wanted to get into that. He wanted to work with the Liberian Roberts Airport. Sorry, but I gotta get back in touch with him. But the thing is, though, aviation. If somebody wants to make an investment in aviation, not just passenger but cargo plane, and let's say somebody could fly small local planes from let's say Monrovia to Accra or whatever like that. I don't know how far the small planes. I guess they go how far you want them to go, right? But yeah, air transport would be a booming business. A booming business, because sometimes people got to wait till they get an international flight and everything. And they just want to go to Ghana or they just want to fly to Freetown. And so. And stuff like that, So if somebody wants to invest in that local air freight, yes, that is a good, particularly government officials and stuff, But but Bomani knows about air safety and everything like that. I don't know about air safety and stuff like that. You have to build all that infrastructure, And they could be government funds. If you had the plan, like Mr. Rosenthal said, you could stick to the U.S. Commerce Department and different places like that. And there's OPIC has grants and stuff like that. If you want to say you want to develop transportation in the country, and as long as you're making U.S. dollars and you're making money and everything, you're employing local people. The United States has billions of dollars for investment in countries like Liberia, but we don't have, like I said, about honorable men. Where are the people that call themselves lawyers and everything, listen to the show, say, look, man, just pay me $500, man, and I'm going to do the grant writing, and I'm going to do the stuff like that for you. Where are the people? And that's why I said when people tell me about Ubuntu, right? Show me Ubuntu.
That would be nice, brother. It would be nice
where
do that.
I do Ubuntu. Ubuntu will be, you know something? Yeah. I'm going to sacrifice my time to do the grant writing, boom, 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 Bomani, Kala. We're going to have it together. We're going to have all the connections, everything like that. We're going to do it. So it's like no one wants to do that, but we want to talk. Like I said, that's what the Sambo culture is, right? We'll talk Ubuntu, right? But when it comes down to actually doing it, right, there's nobody to be around. We talk about we got to get together, Black enterprise and everything. But you can't get people on the same page to contribute. You can't get people to do anything. You can't get people to buy tours. You can't be able to do anything. When people go to Africa, they're completely on their own. Oh, don't tell me. You know, you're hiding from. I got people in the BAO there in Ghana and whatnot. I said, have y'all talked to each other? Y'all live in the same, they're not even 10 miles from each other. Why y'all not communicating? You know, you got people in Tanzania. Oh man, you know. I said, why you're Black people from America? You're in an organization. Y'all not communicating. You know, why y'all not putting your resources together? It's just easy to talk the Ubuntu and all that like that. When it comes down to actually doing it, you know, as Bomani can attest, it's a whole different thing.
Yes. So, you know, in order for us to do even anything dealing from charter to this aviation, I mean, all these things can be done. You just have to have this top professionals, and you know, you and your direct crew work at it together. So, example, if you and 5 other people are doing journeys, you know, and you want
nobody in Liberia is going to tell you no.
Well, no, I was talking about something separate. It was talking about chartering a plane. You know, you just have to have your numbers, and you know, you have to have your timing and your commitment. So you know, everything goes back to this organized planning and you know, having serious people that you're dealing with. Unfortunately, yes, you know, when it's time to do these things, you know, you have some people that's down with you still, and you know, you have others who wasted time. So that's the ratio of things you got to kind of gamble with. You know, this business of, you know, about 50 people say they travel to Africa with you, and maybe about, you know, 15 to 20 or maybe half of that show up. So, but we just have to just you know, keep strong and just, you know, work towards things, and you know, don't limit ourselves, and just keep on elevating our level of consciousness as far as getting aggressively into different business. And some business that you're going to get into, you know, you have to, you know, figure out like, all right, this is the operation, I'm gonna need some upfront you know, finance. Like the best way to build communities and land development projects is just that upfront finance, and then also the upfront infrastructural planning. So I feel like all those things go back to those situations, and then just really being socially out there, just seeing who really just really down with you in all aspects, from the people who are going to be the customers to people who are going to literally be investors to the people who are just going to be your social support. And I just feel like we as a people, we can just go after and tackle anything. But you know, I always tell people, beware of them deadly clowns, not even deadly clowns, just the race traders, or just people who just wicked people who just don't want to see you progress, and just automatically just get in your way and just red roll you. But I feel like I'm, you know, never limiting myself, and just keep on going and keep building up. And so far we're doing good. So that's what I mentioned to you about Liberia. I got Egypt coming up, going in November. Got 8 countries on rotation, and you know, we just.
You've been to Egypt already, right?
Yes, in 2004. So even countries I've been to in the past is creating schedules, and the land project is trying to find other people to work with, and just telling others that
I got an itinerary for you, so you should. I'll send it over to you.
Of what?
Because for Egypt, I mean, I just came back from there in January.
Oh, I can take a look at the itinerary. Yeah, my stuff is up on the site ready. Stuff is out.
Yeah.
You did a tour there, or you went on your own?
Say that one more time.
No, I was saying, did you do a tour or you went on your own?
No, I did a tour. I had 19 people.
Oh, you went. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, 19 including us. So really 16 because me, my wife, and my son went.
Cool, wonderful, wonderful. That's beautiful. So that's recently, like end of last year.
Yeah, January 3rd through the 12th.
3rd to 12th. All right. So perfect. So what parts of Egypt did you journey to?
We went to Cairo, Aswan, Luxor, Abu Simbel.
All right, perfect. All right. So the only thing I got on your itinerary that we got different on there is we added a nice little tropical beach resort area called Orgada. So that's what my sister that's helping us organizing the journey recommends. So we're gonna be just enjoying a nice paradise or relax time and everything. So added a lot of different elements in it with that. But definitely be open to checking yours out. And my stuff is is live and everything. But
Yeah.
that's good energy right there, man. Good energy.
Yes, sir.
So you're looking to do these journeys more often.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We gonna be twins.
I did. Hey, yeah,
Liberia.
up to dealing with all the movements and everything. Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So perfect. That would help. Because we're trying to push a strong energy in Liberia, and just as many groups of people want to come as possible. And
Yeah, I just posted it to the Facebook page that I have, so I'm gonna see what people talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Because people they always be like, all you want to do is go to Ghana, which I like Ghana, but yeah, some of my friends they be like, all you want to do is go to Ghana. That's all you go to. I said, well, I go where I like.
Yeah, and also, at the same time too, sometimes you just have to put time into a certain place to build a system and build a foundation and build a certain flow. So Ghana's good for that. But hey, it's great that you're in Egypt, man. That is what's up. Which other countries you looking to do tours to?
I wanted to do Nigeria. Just I got a lot of people interested in going there, and then I want to go to the east side. Probably go to Tanzania.
Yeah, Tanzania is Tanzania.
Yeah.
You know what country that's underrated, right? I got a strong group in there. And then go to the BAO Zambia. Zambia is a country that's underrated. Beautiful country, tremendous business opportunity. They got a well-developed infrastructure. They got cities and towns in the western part of Barutsi. That's some African Americans over there now trying to build and everything. They got, like, back in the day, you can tell, like 1970, they got streets that are empty. And what about Southern Africa? It's so more developed than West Africa. They got whole street cities that were like abandoned and everything. You see, I'm like, damn, look at this infrastructure. You got streets, sewers, traffic lights and everything like that. And I'm like, God damn, it's like an American city. It's a place like Zambia. Zambia got a good wildlife. You got the Zambezi River and stuff like that. Zambia is an excellent country for tourism. They're looking for African Americans, to come over here and do tourism. Zambia is another country people don't talk about. We just got to get out of the box. It ain't all Ghana. It ain't all Liberia. It ain't all like Kenya and everything. We got to look at Southern Africa, Central Africa, where a lot of African Americans come from, that region right there. I don't know about the Congo yet. Kinshasa is a big city, 20 million people, people like that. Kinshasa is a big metro city. And then you got Angola. Luanda is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, Luanda, Angola. It's beautiful, Yeah, Zambia and Angola. People don't understand. These are modern countries. These are modern black countries, Zambia and Angola, So you don't have the infrastructure issues like you do in parts of West Africa,
Yeah, that traffic. Yeah, I would like I would like to see something different myself.
Yeah, so Liberia's ours because that's the country our ancestors built. Return.
Yeah,
that's
I didn't realize it was that much history until I was listening to Bomani and the lady speak.
And that's what I'm talking about, Colin. You gotta get more than programs out. It's a game.
I tell people all the time.
It connects to you, right? It connects to you, right, brother?
Yeah, it goes in the way. I'm telling you. I wrote the first Liberian historical novel, Journey to the Promised Land, right? Hopefully, I don't know what's in the movie. The people approached me about making this into a movie. They haven't got back to me yet. I'll probably go in the next round and whatnot because I really wasn't ready for this one right now. They hit me all of a sudden. But Journey to the Promised Land is about the Exodus of 1878 from Charleston, South Carolina. Get it on Amazon, Excellent book. It's a historical novel. It's based on a true story. And I wrote that. What I did 2 years of research before I started writing this book. And everybody read the book and said, "God dang, Carl, I'm a gifted. I have a lot of books that I've written, but it's the only one I've ever published." I have a lot of it. Sorry, I have a series of the Empire of Gold on the Mali and the Ghana ancient empires. I want to get that one day. If I would like to be one day be just a novelist and make movies into films and documentaries, that's what I would love to do.
But one of my guys, I was talking to him about Timbuktu, and he was like, "Is that a real place?" I was like, "Are you for real?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm for real." So I sent him over Robin Walker's video about Timbuktu because he did a lot of research on it, and I was like,
"But that white Africanist called Basil Davidson, he wrote the book Lost African Cities and the African Genius. He's a British Africanist, and he has a series called that came out in 1992 called Africa. It's like an 8-part series and whatnot, and it's a Mali empire. It's on YouTube, Basil Davidson.
Oh, what's his name again?
It's Basil Davidson. He's a British Africanist. He's the one who started. He did with the Timbuktu. He went to Tutankhamun's thing when that. It's a whole series on Africa. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
I remember back in '92.
Basil Davidson. Okay.
Yeah, that's the guy. That's the top scholar. Dealt with John Howard Clark and all. He's a white guy, but he knows the whole continent. Had to talk about the slave trade, all that. So he was brutally honest about everything. He talked about lost. I got his book, Lost African Cities. And the African Genius. And stuff like that. He praises Africa a little too much, man. He's like the Swahili. Even though I don't like that, but he just said, look at the Africans who built the Swahili and everything like that. But he gave the Arabs no credit in the Swahili thing. I was like, okay. I know you love black people, but goddamn, he just gave black people all the credit, of everything,
Hold tight with us for a few seconds. Let me just get our guests in.
Okay.
Greetings, our sister. Can you unmute yourself? I know you've been trying to get in. I just want to make sure you just get a chance to share your question. You're muted. Unmute yourself. There you go. Mary Shy. Greetings. Welcome to the call.
Oh, hey. How's everyone doing?
Oh, good.
We're good. On the late night shift. Let me know if you have any questions or if it's something that you like
so
to share.
my question is, I think it might be a lag, or is anyone able to hear?
I'm able to hear you. You have to make sure that you're not also playing the video on like another browser or something.
No, I'm not. I'm on my computer. I turned every off. Off. I clicked them off. So I don't know. Maybe it's just this stupid internet.
Oh no, you're nice and clear. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So my question is, so Liberia, you're allowed to get citizenship if you're black, right? I just wanted to ask that to Kala.
My thing about that is this, right? If you're black in Liberia, African American, right? This is what I believe about citizenship, right? Other countries, fine, right? But Liberia as an idea, right? I don't believe you can have Liberian citizenship and American citizenship. I believe you have to choose one or the other. Now, I believe, and Liberians believe too, you want to be, unless you're a Liberian born in the West, right? You can have dual citizenship, right? But if you're African American, right? I believe that if you want citizenship in Liberia, you should be a Liberian. That means I'm not American no more, whatever like that, and I'm in Liberia. Why I say that by Liberia? Because America and Liberia are two competing ideas. That's one day going to clash. Okay? Liberia has always said that the black people in the West belongs to it. Black people in America, Liberians feel like that. Those people in America belong to us. Black America and the diaspora, slave descendants belong here, right? And you can't serve two masters. You say it can't serve two masters.
Right.
So
and
if
right,
you're
and And I,
yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, sister. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so my question is, okay, so my question is that you know, some Black in the West, we complain that, you know, that these other people, they're in charge, and how they're oppressed and stuff like that. Why aren't we making our way to Liberia to start our own nation?
But
That's my question. I always complain America's home to some of us, but is it feel comfortable? Like,
well, it's like this. Let's be real. The reality is this, right? Liberia and these countries are very poor country. Liberia's only had $2 billion GDP. Sierra Leone's a $3 billion GDP, something like that, right? Your city has a higher GDP than some of these countries. The infrastructure and everything is not there. So I think oppression is basically in your mind. It's in your mind. If you feel Black people are suppressed, not oppressed. If you feel oppressed, that's something you have to deal with. And another thing is, the people in Liberia and these countries like that, they would love to basically switch places with you. Now, me personally, when I went over there, and I'm in Liberia right there, Liberia gave me everything I wanted. I never felt like I'm impressed. I don't feel like I'm impressed in America. I'm a businessman, I own a house, everything like that, right? Liberia filled a void, right? Because I want to know what it's like to be in a country, right, where the majority of people look like me. And with that, I didn't need citizenship. The culture, the people, everything like that, thing was enough. I didn't need the validation. Oh, I need a Liberian citizenship. Because let me give you an example. The Liberians that are there, right, that living on hand to mouth and everything, I already come in there to Liberia with a certain privilege from America. I'm spending money and everything like that. I'm spending money more on a meal than some people make in a whole month, a whole week, right? I got this privilege. I'm driving around and everything like that. And these got people out there doing hard work. You got ladies out there in the markets working all day just to make $5 to feed their family and everything. If I become a citizen, right, and I just flash my shit and go back to America, right, is that fair to the Liberian? That diminishes them. The only thing protecting them, right, is their citizenship. I'm coming from America from a position of privilege and everything like that, right? That's enough. The Liberians or the Liberia, the only thing they have, right, is the fact that they can vote. They can choose their politicians. That's basically fair. A lot of Black people in America, right, they don't understand that, right? When they go to countries, they think it's a right. They want free land. They want citizenship. They don't want to pay for visas. They don't want to do all the stuff like this, right? And the person in these countries is like, who are you? We dealing with the reality of being a citizen in this country. And you're just basically being, you just trying to be chic. I got a Liberian citizen and everything. Now, other countries in Africa, they want to diminish their citizenship, fine. But I think Liberia, right there, is a competing ideal. Liberia means a land of liberty, land of free. America basically says it's the best country in the world, everything. Liberia's constitution, everything, basically said, okay, we're going to tell Black people they got a better thing. So when you go over to Liberia, you make that thing, right? Make that transition. You should say, tell America, I don't want your citizenship. I'm a Liberian now. And you take your chances with the Liberia. Now, can you do that? Can you deal with the infrastructure issue? Can you deal with power failure? Can you deal with a lot of stuff that goes on there? Can you deal with the fact that you may not be able to come back to America if it doesn't work out? You see what I mean? And a lot of times people like with this dual citizenship, you can't be half and half. You can't be in. You got to make a choice. Now in Liberia, if you're Black America, I know a lot of people that live over there, and I know Liberians that live in Liberia. They got U.S. passports, because they can go back and forth and stuff like that. They got business they got in America. They got to handle stuff and everything. They got to go to school, wherever like that. So they go back and forth. With their U.S. passport, they can live in Liberia, own property, own businesses. Same thing in Black America. With your U.S. passport, you can do anything you want in Liberia. You know, you can do anything that a Liberian can do. Only thing you can't do is hold public office and vote. You know, now there are exceptions. The president's son in Liberia, right? He played for the U.S. Soccer team. You know, and there's always seven, but for the average person, you know, that's not the case. I believe that basically, if you're a Black African American, go over there and show them what you can do. I'm gonna tell you right now, because Liberians not impressed by talk, right? If you go over there and you're gonna start a business and whatnot, you're gonna get people around you. If you could contribute to the country and everything, it'll tell you big billboard sign in Liberia. Taxpayers are partners in the government. Those get signs all day. Taxpayers are partners. You know, if you can say I'm bringing revenue, I'm creating jobs, I got an investment, I built a school and everything like that, you can do whatever you want to do in Liberia. But it's not like you going over there sitting on your butt, saying I got Liberian citizenship, you know, and then going back to America and stuff like that. They don't play that in Liberia. Now, I don't know how it's other countries, but Liberians don't play that. Most of the Liberians have U.S. citizenship passes, why not? They may have a Liberian passport and everything, but for the most part, they use their U.S. citizenship, U.S. passport, you know, for the most part. Except when they're going to travel to another country in Africa. That's the only reason why they get a Liberian passport, whatever. Or they, by birthright, if you're born in Liberia, you can have a U.S. passport and a Liberian passport. But if you're, like, that's the problem with the Lebanese. The Lebanese want Liberian citizenship, right? But they don't want to give up their Lebanese. There's so many implications in this, right? If they give that to you, a dual citizenship, right, as an outsider, right, then they will say, the Lebanese say, why are you giving citizenship to African Americans, right? We've been here for 30, 40 years, and we don't have a citizenship. So there's many implications when people start talking about citizenship. You know, you're gonna have the Lebanese saying that's racism, that's like that. We say, well, the Constitution. But still, though, you're born in America, right, and you hold two passports. The Lebanese problem is they want citizenship, but they don't want to give up their Lebanese passports. They don't want to denounce their relationship with Lebanon. Because all the Liberians is a place for them to make money and suck money out of. So that's my thing. Did I explain it to you a little more? Right?
Yes, brother. That was a great breakdown. Hopefully, she heard you.
Sister, you understand that?
So the main thing, everyone, you can use your American passport in Liberia, and you don't have to worry about much of anything else. But family, this
I do.
Do you understand my analysis of that? You know, if a Liberian person asks you, right, they'll say, well, what do you want to do here, right? And if you have an investment or something like that, you want to buy a house, something like that, they say, oh, you can do that, but you need a citizenship for it. You can buy a house. You go on a beachfront property. You can buy a business for sale. You can do whatever you want to do. And like I said, that citizenship thing is a very, very touchy subject in Liberia because they have so many people that live abroad. You got Liberians who are married to Europeans and everything like that. And Liberia is supposed to be a black state, you know. How's that? So they haven't figured all this out yet. You got 3 or 4 generations of Lebanese living there, right? And they're knocking at the door saying, open us up. You got Chinese living there saying, why is Liberia not giving us citizenship? So when you talk about African Americans, that's opened up another can of worms that they don't want to deal with right now. They need economic development. They need partners in business. Now, if you're coming over there bringing a business group and you're doing something and everything like that, and you're doing a major investment and everything, they'll talk to you. They'll let you do what you want. But too many people going to Africa and not contributing anything. You know, and then when you come over there, okay, I always say have a healthcare plan. You know, have traveler's insurance. Have a life insurance plan. If you die, whatever, like the bed. All these things people don't think about when they talk about repatriating to another country. Do you got savings? Do you got a pension? You know, how are you going to support yourself? You know, so like I said, these things we're trying to solve. We're trying to build these communities, right? We're trying to build places where our people can live in peace and comfort and everything. Why it's important for us to work together and live together on every continent. And you got Liberians who will live with us over there and build with us and everything, because they're coming from similar situations. So, if you really want to live in Africa, no, Africa. I don't think Liberia is like building a nation in Liberia is not necessary, because Liberia is a nation. That's not necessary. And building a nation in Liberia is not really necessary. They got Liberia, look, in our organization, I got so many people that own so much land. I got a great African. He says he wants to give Bomani and I 300 acres of land in Nimba County on the border of Guinea. He said we can hook up to the West African power pool up there and build a community up there. And I got several people saying, oh, we got land over here in Marshall. We can build an industrial state and everything like that. So we got this. You don't need a nation in Liberia. Liberia is a nation, you know. But they know our connection with America is vital. You know, our pipeline to America. That's why we say a global pipeline. You know, we need to connect our cities and towns in America. We talked about the other day, even to North Florida. You know, that's a small town. Can you imagine if the those FBA people who say they love America so much, how come they're not going to these small towns in America and helping revitalize and rebuild these towns and everything? You know, you got them in Arkansas. You got black enclaves in the Mississippi Delta. How can we not connect building these communities over there if we care about so much? No, they're living in the damn suburbs and everything. Talk about America, you know, and stuff like that. You know, if you really cared about this is where you want to be, why aren't you living in black townships? No, all black communities are not in the ghettos in the inner city. We got black towns throughout America, you know, that need help. You know, that people need to say, I want to plant some roots down. You can go to Windsor, North Carolina, predominantly black city. I got land in Windsor, North Carolina. My family got land. I called my uncle tonight. It was like, what are we going to do with the property? We're going to work on that summer, fix that property. It's been on my family for 150 years. We got small towns in America that people can go to and build, you know, and bring the expertise in business community. I tell my uncle, I said, why do we all leave this land? All the white people down there trying to take all the land, black land, because we all went to New York generations ago. We had to because of the Klan and racism and stuff like that. You know, why are we returning to these towns and everything and building them up? Black people have so much in front of them, and it goes to show you that no matter what we have in front of us, it's like if you're not happy and don't love yourself or whatever like that, you're never gonna be happy anything. You know, so citizenship is just a symbol. You know, and I even believe with black people that get these citizenships are still not gonna be happy. It's always gonna be something. You know. Kala has a view of dissent regarding African dual citizenship. That's his perspective, but not everyone. Everyone wants. If everyone there was great, the African one. Well, this dual citizenship is like it's like lukewarm. You know, I want to do it. They say they hate America, right? They say, see, that's what I'm saying. This is why I'm saying our ancestors who built Liberia didn't have dual citizenship. You read my novel, they took the leap of faith. They knew once they got on that boat to go to Liberia, it was no turning back. They had to make it work. So it was a different type of character. They knew they had to build families. They knew they had to pray. They had to work hard. All the things that were all things in their ability, they had to do. They had to work hard. They knew they had to work hard. They had to hit the field. They had to learn 2 or 3 trades. And what came out of that was the most remarkable civilization ever built by anybody. They built that country from nothing for hard work. There was no America. There was no people going back and forth and everything. Our ancestors built Liberia better than the people that doing stuff now. Because they said they believed in themselves. They believed in God, their faith and everything. And they went to Liberia and there was building small towns, cities, and infrastructure. Because they knew there was nothing, they had to make it work. But you got too many people who want dual citizenship and they go in a place like Ghana and everything like that, and they're failing. They're going over there, and they just can't hack it. And they end up coming back. You got to go if you want to live in a country, that's fine. You know that if it don't work, I got to come back to America. That's what I'm saying. But when you ask for a citizenship, right? That citizenship, you know what citizenship means? That means your allegiance. You can't have dual allegiance. If that country gets in conflict with the United States, what do? And there's too many people that basically are in the United States, and Liberians, to tell you the truth, they're getting tired of the United States meddling into these affairs. That people basically think that they get, you got so many Liberians that live in America, that U.S. citizens on social media interfering in Liberian politics, and they're not on the ground dealing with the consequences of what they're talking about. And I have nothing against George Weah, but it was all these Liberians living in America that got him elected and everything. When things going south and everything, they don't have to deal with the consequences of that because they influence people. Oh, we got to get Weah in power. Well, are you in Liberia to deal with the fallout of this? Where you got bumbling idiots running the legislature and stuff like that? No, but you sat in America and encouraged people to vote like that. And so I don't want Black people in America living in America influencing what goes on in Liberia. I just don't. If you want to be a citizen of Liberia and participate in this politics and everything, you go to Liberia and you renounce your U.S. citizenship and you become a Liberian. Then what you vote for and everything is on you. You know, that's how you stop all that nonsense. So, Amon, you want to talk about the flyer?
Yeah, I was just highlighting it up there since we're talking about Liberia.
Okay. Oh yeah.
But yes, that's that magical journey family that we're gonna be taking.
I mean, do you guys agree with what I'm saying about the thing? I just think there got to be one country in Africa because I believe Liberia is going to be the pipeline to the rest of the continent, right? That if you want to be a citizen of Liberia, that means you can one day run for office. You could do all stuff like this, right? You're a full-fledged Liberian. I think that's beautiful. You know, but how many of us are going to basically say, you know something, I'm ready to, you know, live here forever. I'm never going to come back to the United States, at least for 10 years, whatever, for on a visa. I got to apply for a visa if I got to go to the United States. It's hard to get a visa to the United States from Africa. You know, it is. And I'm just giving you the reality. You know, there's a lot of Liberians. I'm trying to get my fiance over here. You know, it's been 2 years now. I got my boy Mike Akins, his fiance is in Ghana. You know, same thing, 2 years. It's hard for somebody from Africa to get a visa to come to the United States. And like I said, with Liberia, you know, unlike other countries in Africa, you don't need a citizenship to own land and own a business. So citizenship is not necessary. For the Lebanese, all these businesses, they're not citizens. Same thing with Black people in America. They say, you guys should be doing what the Lebanese are doing. You know, start employing people, start buying from people, start investing in people and all that, you know. Then when you start doing and socializing with people on the ground and everything like that, then you become part of the society regardless of what a document says. Like the Lebanese, they're white. They're part of society. They're not even citizens. They're part of society because they're contributing. They got little miniature fairgrounds and theme parks in Liberia that are run by Lebanese that everybody goes to. They got this nice ice cream parlor and whatnot on Tubman Boulevard, man. You would think you was in downtown Los Angeles or New York, you know, on Tubman Boulevard. You know, sitting out there, we were sitting there eating ice cream. You know, it's a nice place. You don't have to, in Liberia, you don't have to worry about no shootings and nothing like that. I'm like, damn, I feel so safe. We're out there at night eating, my woman, my driver, was out there having ice cream and whatnot, having deluxe ice cream and whatnot by this place run by Lebanese or whatever the hell they were, you know, at late at night. I remember those days that go over to Carvel when I was a kid. We used to go to Carvel at night and get ice cream, you know. You know, I was a kid growing up. Where we at to that? But these people over there making money and making like that, and they become part of society. You got Black people in America. Oh, I need a citizenship. I need a citizenship. They ain't got no investment. Not saying against Sister Mar, but I'm just saying, Sister Mar, but I'm just saying a lot of people, oh, I need this. I need this. I need this. I need to get a free visa. I need this and everything. And then people are like, yo, who the hell are you? You know, that's what they like. Like, we're like, who are you? Now you come over there and say, yo, I got investment and everything like that, and I want to build this and everything. I say, go ahead, make your money. They like that.
Hey, Kala, are there any things we can export that?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, what you want to do in Liberia, right? There's a lot of things you can export, but I'm gonna tell you right now, Liberians and they know how to export, right? Liberians are good at shipping. They're always sending barrels from the United States to everything. Everything costs so much, right? Like like this one brother, young Liberian brother, out of Florida, right? He saved his money $100,000, right? And he bought this Chinese liquor. It's Chinese liquor, right? Chinese liquor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he went to China and bought it, right? And he shipped it to Liberia, right? And the Liberian laws are like this: he got an exclusive right for that brand, so nobody else could sell that brand in the country but him. And Liberians honor those laws, and Liberians honor those laws. Say it. Yeah, I have citizens in Sierra Leone. I'm happy with the citizen. Yeah, plan to move there. Yeah, go right there. Go there, invest, live in the village and everything. Sierra Leone, beautiful country. But he basically, after a while, right, after he showed that he could move that stuff, right, they gave him a line of credit, and now he basically is employing people. The next stage, he's gonna start manufacturing this liquor in Liberia. The young guy, he's only like in his 30s, his early 30s. He's a multi-millionaire. But Liberia has laws on the books, right? And you got laws on that to enforce that if you got a product and you want to sell in there, exclusive brand, right? And we're trying to develop the Liberia next series with Liberia. Liberia is it's hot for manufacturing. Manufacturing stuff, everything from cocoa to chocolates and everything like that. Manufacturing, furniture making. Liberia I had furniture made when I was over there. Furniture making, all stuff like this, all that stuff like that in Liberia. Ornaments and jewelry and stuff like that is there. They made gold jewelry and everything, clothing lines, everything like that is in Liberia. If you say, look, I want to buy this stuff from you, and you want to export it through eBay, whatever like that, and sell it in America, you're coming there with cash to buy something. I tell you, a business that I want to get into is a cigar making business. They do cigars there? Well, there's nobody since when I was there 2 years ago, right? And I was smoking a lot, right? And everybody said, since you came there, man, the Lebanese, man, start importing cigars. There were no cigars in the whole country.
Wow.
And I said to myself, I want to build my own humidors over there, humidors, and start importing cigars. Once you start importing lines of cigars and everything, you get a certain amount and everything, then you start looking into, we start manufacturing local brands of cigars, And cigars are one of the biggest selling things in Liberia. I mean, they love cigars. Former President Tubman used to smoke marijuana. Cigars are a big business. Liberia used to make cigarettes back in the days. Its own brand of cigarettes back in the days. It's tobacco. Liberia's tobacco is really, really rich. So there's a lot of opportunity to stuff like cigars, whatever you want to make, anything you want to make over there. Beer and everything like that. There's a whole bunch of stuff, like palm wine, everything like that. If you want to put that stuff in bottles and manufacture it, Liberians are investing in it. You're gonna find somebody say, they just need a little bit of capital. Say like this, you want you manufacture and brand it, have your product registered with the government and everything like that. It's a brand, thing like that. Then you can start exporting it to the United States. And then export to the United States and import things. You have to start your own trading company where you're importing a bunch of stuff and you're exporting something at equal value. That's a trading company, And you have a finance company that does the stuff like that, to ship it and stuff like that, to ship it. So there's a tremendous opportunity. And then from Liberia, you can ship your stuff, like you said, by plane, whatever, to the neighboring countries and everything like that. The roads are getting better and everything like that. You got a whole region. Like I said, if you have a product that you want to manufacture in Liberia, warehousing, there's all kinds of abandoned warehouses that you can lease or buy. That's that you can rehab.
Yeah.
There's nothing. All you see but nothing but buildings that were started and not completed. Warehouse, you just find out who the owner is and say you want to either put the money into sublease it or you want to buy it outright, whatever like that. There's plenty of properties, available for opportunities like that. And like any other country, you gotta go through all this. Oh, I gotta go through the citizenship and all that. Liberia, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
Especially if you're black. You know, especially if you're black.
So you could easily start a bank account and all that stuff. Just go to the bank.
Like everything.
Yeah.
You know, you're black. You got a U.S. passport. You're black from America. You know, it's the same thing as being Liberian. It's no big deal.
Gotcha.
You know, I had bought. My first thing was I bought this Wi-Fi for my room. Right, this Wi-Fi thing. Right, so I had to sign the thing where I was born. I had to fill out, register, and they came back approved. The one I said I got approved for something in an African country. I can't believe it. You know, it's basically approved in my paperwork and whatnot. You know, I was like, damn, I was like, tell me what I need a citizenship for, man. I just gave my driver's license and put my information down. You know, and I got a Wi-Fi account. You know, and I was like, okay, it's all good though. You know, so I had Wi-Fi. They kind of put some money on it and whatnot. You know, I had Wi-Fi. You know.
Hey, do they have visa on demand, or you gotta mail to the embassy here?
Well, me, I got a visa on arrival. You know, because I'm a special.
Yeah. Okay.
I got a visa on arrival. You know, and everybody else, you have to go to just go to Rapid Visa Pro. You know. Or wherever you get the visa, you know, they do it for you. They go to the embassy and then for a fee. It's like a $150 fee, whatever. They ship it, and you ship them the passport, and then they mail it back to you. Me, I got a visa directly from the government. You know.
Nice.
So the visa process got people can use those third-party companies, but I'm always telling people keep your money in your pocket and just fill out the paperwork, send it in the post office, and they'll mail it back to you.
I don't trust the post office. I would send it to FedEx.
If you send it to the post office, I mean, you can use priority mail, things like that. So whatever system you're using a form of a priority mail service with tracking. But you don't. So I mean, people do have different options, and then, you know, in some situations, you know, I guess my brother Kala, how about this? In some situations, you know, your brother Ross could be that third party, because I'd rather the extra money go to Ross.
Well, if the bottom line, if you got if you're a key person, you're about to do some real business deal, we can make that arrangements too. You know.
Yeah, well, I'm just you know me, I'm also just trying to create opportunities. Like you mentioned about the office that you have there. You know, say example, you have a group of 10 people, and maybe it's just better for you to get them. That way your brother make the money versus something else.
Yeah,
so
you know things we can make things happen. Yeah, right. I get what you're saying. We can make things happen, you know.
Okay.
So to give them the work. So that's one way out. But definitely for those who are out there listening, all the countries that we go to, what I have is a nice visa process email for everyone. And with that, we just go through it, and then after that, you just get your visa. Even with some visas that tend to be difficult, you just find the smooth way to go through it. A lot of times people don't want to read through all the stuff, so we just summarize it and make it nice and smooth. And that's what I've done for the Liberia one. But also, that would be nice, you know, that office there or whoever there that want to make some extra cash, they can just go do all the legwork and get some of it done. The connection in Egypt, they do the visas, so I told them that's good, because I don't do people visas. What I do is help them do it, because, you know, trying to get people into their journey and so on. But nevertheless, go ahead, Kala, let me know if you wanted to share anything else.
Well, yeah. So, like I said about tonight's topic, you know, these are some serious conversations we need to have. You know, and as far as panel, like I said, I'm gonna give it to people straight. I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, just go look. You know, you gotta do your homework, do your planning. You know, go over there and find out for yourself. You know, I said I know what I like about Liberia and whatnot, because I'm like this. To me, I call Africa made easy. You know, you're on the African continent, right? We definitely need a base on the continent. We need people that will warehousing. We need more people with warehousing. We need equipment. You know, we need a place where, let's say, an opportunity presents itself in Cameroon that we could easily go for. Why do we always got to come from the United States? You know, so I'm trying to replace the United States with Liberia. That's what I'm trying to do.
Gotcha.
When we go to Angola, when I want to be launching to Angola from Liberia. you know. So I want the United States, you know, we use the United States for wealth and money and everything like that. But the idea that America has the power to shut down whatever we do because we're so dependent on America. What if America says, you know something, you can't, I'm gonna restrict travel to Liberia like they did COVID, you know? Luckily, most African countries, that COVID hit right when I was going to Liberia. I thought that right up until the day I got on a plane, that I might not be able to go. You know, if you have real business on the line and stuff like that, we go like that, and the United States says, you know something, we feel that this country that you love so much is doing this. We're restricting travel. Then you're screwed.
Yeah, for sure.
You're screwed, you know. But we're already on the ground and everything like that. We already got stuff going on, you know. Okay, you know, fine, whatever. So, like I said, Liberia is like Liberia to me is like a great country. Ghana could be that country, but like I said, Ghana, although we're Pan-Africans, right, doesn't mean necessarily Ghana understands. They got their own deals. They try to make deals with Australia. They got to make deals with Sweden. You know, they got to do what they got to do. They try to get investments and everything. You know, we're looking at it from a Pan-African point of view. They're looking at it from, look, we got to develop our country point of view. Same thing with Nigeria. All these countries like there, they put their people first and the interests of the people first, and we don't seem to understand that. You know, so therefore they're not going to be like this. The books on Liberian history, I'll give you a couple of them, right? One book, if you got a pen, write it down. It's called This Our Dark Country, you know? It's called This Our Dark Country. That's a good book. Another book is called Behold the Promised Land. Another book is called On Afric Shores. Afric, A-F-R-I-C Shores. The history of Maryland in Africa. Maryland was a separate country that merged into Liberia, you know? The history of Maryland in Africa, right? And another one is the best book on Liberia, right? Was published in 1953. It's called Liberia, America's African Friend by R.L. Anderson. You know, you can find it on Barnes & Noble, right? The book is expensive. Yeah, the book is good. I found that book by accident, but thank God, because that changed my whole view about Liberia. It was published in 1953, and it was an unbiased book on Liberian history, right? Because all the time I used to believe all this nonsense about Liberia being this terrible place, whatever, like that, for Black indigenous people. That book basically broke down the conspiracy that the British were trying to do. I wrote many articles about that, about Baroness time. They tried to basically, like Kyle Farmer said, the British tried many times to take over Liberia militarily and take it over. And much of the propaganda against Liberia, like the Fernando Po incident with the Kru tribe, everything, all that was published by the British, right? To basically undermine Liberia's image in the world and justify taking it over, because the British wanted Liberian rubber fields, you know? And so all this anti-Liberian propaganda was done by the British and the French and all the people to basically destroy Liberia's image in the world and justify colonization. Why? Because when the British were in Africa and everything, they told the Africans, you guys are primitive, you guys will never be able to govern a country. And so they said, the Africans was like, well, what about Liberia? That's a Black country. And they try to say, no, those aren't Black. Then they would try to paint Liberian people, Liberian officials as white or light. You know what I'm saying? They give them, you know what I'm saying, give this image that Liberians were not really Black people, you know? You know, This Our Dark Country, Behold the Promised Land. It's called On Afric Shores. The history of Maryland, Africa. On Afric Shores. That's the name of the book. The history, in parentheses, the history of Maryland and Africa. That's a really good book. And Liberia, African Friend. Those books right there is really all you need to start off with. You know, go on Barnes & Noble, get those books. And then, like I said, Liberia to me needs its own course in college. It needs to be a real course in college, right? Those books, those scholarship work and everything, how the United States and France fabricated the thing. And then they had a race trader, a Sambo named Charles Spurgeon Johnson, who's a hero to Barack Obama, you know, some mulatto mutt. You know, he was a hero to Barack Obama. He basically wrote the book called The Black Republic, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, his book, The Black Republic, about Liberia, he spent time in Liberia, right? And you would think he was like, okay, like this idea. He talked about all the problems in Liberia, right? Because he was a staunch integrationist. His book was basically to say, basically, how you gonna go to a black republic, right? You're a scholar, right? Instead of saying this is what we could do, he comes back to America. Yeah, that's why we got to push for integration in America, you know. So in other words, basically, he was ignoring all the progress in Liberia, right? It's like, oh yeah, but you got the indigenous people, and I don't know how it's gonna work out, blah blah blah. And basically, he said himself, right, that America is never going to absorb the black man, right? He believed that the black man, only way America can get rid of race is black people have to disappear. So he advocated for race mixing. And so therefore, the idea that black people, that's why people hate the Pan-African, the black nationals Pan-African movement so much, because it basically says that we want to live as a race. So basically what he was saying was, just race is not a thing. We got to get rid of it. As soon as humanity gets rid of race and color, you know, and we see each other as human beings and whatnot, you know, that's his thing. That's what they believe. That's what the civil rights people believe. That's what the integrationists believe. And we get rid, basically, they're not getting rid of white people. This means get rid of black people. Why do you think you got this ADOS FBA movement, right? Why do you think you got these people calling them aboriginals, copper-colored Americans, and all stuff like this? They want to erase their blackness and their Africanness. So when we talk about a black state, that's why I said Liberia is a state, it's a black republic and everything. If you want citizenship with Liberia, you swear your allegiance to that black republic, right? Because that says that your future is with Africa and the destiny of the manifest destiny of Africa. You know, you can't have two masters. You know, you can't have one in, one out. Now, if you're not ready to do that, yeah, just go over to Liberia with your U.S. passport, buy land, settle there, retire there, whatever. But when you start talking about an allegiance, right? Liberia, this idea of Liberia is going to rise again. You know, that idea of the Lone Star is going to rise again. The Lone Star in the midst of darkness. You know, right now you see all the problems in Africa and whatnot. You don't see no problems in Africa, Liberia, like you do in Guinea-Bissau and all these other countries with French is. Liberia, you got a peaceful country right now. And when you had the Civil War, that was a spillover from Sierra Leone, actually. You know, people don't realize that. You have armed rebels in the interior, right? You know, going back and forth. And now Liberia, with its military, is no joke. The country is completely secured.
Okay. Yeah, I see the book on, it's Richard L. Hall.
On
African Shores.
Yeah, that's it. It's an orange book, right?
That
book right there, bro, that book right there is going to take you to different dimensions. There's one story in the book, right, where the worst happened. Think about it, this is the 1830s, right? And what's going on during that time period? The slave trade still, right? So they built this peaceful settlement there, right? And then one day it happened, right? The people looked up and there was this weird ship on the coast and everybody was terrified, right? And people knew from instinct that what type of ship that was. It was a slave ship had run aground on the shores. And they seized it, you know? Interesting story. It was a slave ship that was running illegal slaves. It ran aground on the shores. And it was the first time many of them had ever seen a slave ship, you know? But there's many different things in that book, you know, the fight with the Grebos and stuff like that, King Freeman. It's a good book, you know.
Yeah, I actually was born in Maryland, so I'm real.
Maryland, you got Harper, you got Hoffman. Everything in Maryland, Liberia is named after. You got Baltimore Street, you got Harper is the capital of Maryland. You know, Harper City, you know, all that come from Baltimore, you know, and the Cape Palmas, most beautiful place on the planet. Lake Shepherd and Cape Palmas. They had a post office. The back in the days, it's all in ruins now because of the war, right? But they had hotels overlooking the bluff in the ocean. They had a lighthouse, right? I want to write a book called On the Lighthouse, right? And have it like, you know, do real stories and whatnot. But every time you see a lighthouse, you think of New England, right? You think of America, right? But they had a big lighthouse there. I want to know how the people live there with the lighthouse and stuff like that, you know? How the people live, the beautiful women, you know, and you know, going to their cathedrals, their churches, and the indigenous people, the African culture, all mixed together. A beautiful civilization, you know, a beautiful blend of Black America, the Caribbean. The founder of Maryland was a Jamaican called John Brown Worcester. You know, he was the first Black man to graduate from college in Maine. You know, Bodine College. You know, and basically he founded Freeman. He was born in Jamaica, right, and raised in Maine and Canada. But he went to Liberia and became its governor and made Maryland a real profitable state, you know. And then basically towards it, he didn't want to merge with Liberia, you know.
Wow.
I don't know what a pan-African integrationist is. You know, ADOS and they're ADOS nationalists. Well, if you mean African American nationalists, I don't have no problem with that. You know, black people saying they're nationalists, they have a national identity. I'm not gonna hold up against that. Black people feel like they want to be a nation, whatever, like that's fine. You know, they just find a way to work that out. You know, Kala, since you have outlined the blacks globally live in a Mzungo maze, would your officers of alerts and powerlessness? Yo, black people got to first want power. You know, you got to first want power. You know, when you go to different countries in Africa, if you are less power, if you have less power than you have in America, you haven't gained anything. And that's why I said I like Liberia. I like a country like Angola too, where we have a chance to have power, political, economic, and social power. You know, when that just people looking, oh, look at these crazy black people moving for America, and you look so dumb and lost and defeated. You know, like the people in Gambia. You know, it looks so weak and so defeated, so you know, out of it. You know, you got to have power. You know, we got to basically say, see that hotel right there, we own that shit. You know. See that industrial zone? We own that stuff. You know, you got to step to anybody with power. You know, 400 years in America, we got to show Africa and the world what we can do, what we're about. So when you start building stuff and everything, and you're doing things and everything like that, wow. And they'll catch on. They say, man, we need more of you over here. But if you're going over there just asking for free shit, asking for land, asking for this, asking for that, and you're sitting around doing nothing when they're starting to look at us. Why do you think there's a backlash against some of these people in Ghana? Why do you think the police are shaking them down when I say, yo, these niggas ain't doing nothing? You know, so I'm going to try to take you. But when you become a vital asset by what you bring, your ideas and your energy, they're going to basically want more of it. Yep, so.
Yes, brother Kala, live and direct, man. Live and direct, Kala. Appreciate it, brother. Breaking it down.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, family. So anybody have anything for Kala Genesis before we close? It is getting, you know, towards a late night shift.
It's been a long, productive day, but I'm glad, you know. Every Tuesday and Saturday night, folks, we're here.
All right, so what I'm gonna do is pull up the website here, family, and got some nice update on some wonderful journeys of a lifetime coming up. So as I was mentioning, family, the Egypt Roots and Culture Journey of a Lifetime, November 21st to December 2nd, 2024. Give you enough time to connect with us. And then you have right there, Liberia Reconnection and Investment Tour, March 29th to April 9th, 2024. So those are the journeys up and ready for you for 2024, so you can plan and be ready ahead of time. I'm going to give you a nice fresh overview of this fresh journey here for Egypt, and listen to the tunes.
All right, brothers, y'all have a good night.
All right, brother. Connect with my brother Mike Akins on their Ning site, you know.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, look at Mike Akins. You know, Mike is, you know, he's got a lot going on in Chicago, you know. He's a Chicago guy, you know. I'm surprised you guys don't know. You know, but definitely hook up with him and everything like that. He's, you know, he's Liberia bound now, you know. We need that beachhead.
All right, that's what's up. Yeah, I'm gonna work on that for sure.
All right, brother. All right, Dino.
All right, y'all have a good night.
Yes, brother. You take care. All right, your buddy Baruti got a lot of questions. So what I would recommend for him to do is for him to join you and ask you some of these questions, or you have a show just you and him, so he can ask you a whole lot of questions, or just pay you consultation, something like that.
Yeah, man. Bottom line, why don't people call in, man? Yeah, or join the Ning site. Yeah, join our website. Geez, they always wait for 2 weeks, It's like, well, like join me, man. You
There
know.
you go again.
He's a going of death about the white guy who's harassing African Americans. Look, black people in America, I would say I feel sorry for them, but I don't. It's like you go over places and you look. You never show your hand. You never project weakness on anybody. Oh, we got beaten by. Yeah, you got Africans thinking that we're getting hunted by police in America every day. So they actually think you're going there escaping. Now you got a movement now where bros going to Africa, meeting women, and everything. They're trying to bring that passport thing. Oh, black women in America don't love y'all. That's why you're coming out. You know what I'm saying? That's being spread there. It's all negativity. You should be like, look, yeah, I'm in Africa because I want to be here. I want to be here. I want to make a contribution. I want to live among my own people. Not no, I just gotta be here because I just, I'm just so weak and everything, like America's so bad and everything. And bottom line is this: that's human nature. It's like if you notice that when you're down and out on your luck, when our people treat you like shit. They're like the Vapors. Remember that the Biz Markie song, "The Vapors"? They call it the Vapors.
Yes, the Vapors.
You should play that video. That's the same thing. Human nature, when you're down and you're scrumpy and everything, nobody respects you. But if you're going over there and you're organized, that's why we said join the Black Star Pan-African. Do I have to say it in Greek or Latin? Join a community and let's build strength. Let's be in a position of strength and power. That's one of the reasons why black people hate and said about the integration with America, because it had us on our knees. They're saying like this: we want to integrate into a racist society on our knees, begging them to sit at their lunch counter. That's what we hated about the civil rights movement. It's the same thing now in Africa. We're going to places, because America's so terrible and whatnot. Please help us, give us citizenship and all that stupid stuff. Yeah, how stupid you sound. Black people in America,
panhandling.
Black America's self-hate is the worst thing there. I believe you go to Africa all you want. If you don't have that love of yourself and pride, like I said, I'm proud of who I am. I choose to be part of Liberia. I choose to be part of this country. I don't have to. I have a nice house, nice life here in America. I have a business here in America. Everything I want here in America. I love my people. I love being around with people. I was at the casino Saturday in Portsmouth. All you see is older black people in all walks of life. Black people, beautiful black sisters today. Everybody just having a good time. I like being around my own people. So when I go to Africa, it ain't because I'm trying to escape from my own people. I love my people. So when you give the impression that you're escaping and you look like an African American reject, they pick up on that. You already told them that America is killing you, and so what's a few dollars from you? You understand how that works? It's like, damn, some of you people, do you have any street smarts? When you go to a new neighborhood, you always think they tell people, yeah, man, you ever said, yo, man, you don't want me to bring my homies around here, from back in my neighborhood. You may not know nobody in your own neighborhood, right? But you don't let them know that. You don't go to a new neighborhood and talk about, I don't know nobody, everybody like that. They're like, oh, you ain't got no back. When you see a motherfucker, you're like, the motherfucker will play you, try you. I learned that in club security. They're like, okay, who's this guy? They see if he's cool with the other security, whatever like that. They try to pick you off. But when you let them know that you're going to knock them upside the head, and then I got like 10 guys that got my back, and we're going to do this here in the club, they won't try you. You never feel like you're weak, you portray weakness to anybody. I don't care who it is. True, I would go to Africa looking pitiful, you get no respect. Yeah. That's why they go over there looking pitiful. This is the Pan-African movement. We don't know no pitiful buck dancing Sambos. You don't buck dance for the white man, and you don't buck dance for our brothers in Africa. You always look strong. As the strongest race of black people on the planet, start acting like it. It look pitiful. Always look pitiful and weak, especially like a lot of our sisters. Oh. Like ES was talking about when she said that thing. Well, I feel protected over here. Remember that Prince? What's his name? Prince, whatever his name is. Remember that? How'd that work out? Prince, okay, or whatever that in Ghana. You know, how'd that work out for them? They're up
Yeah,
there.
I forgot his name. It's something like that.
Chris Okoye, whatever his name is. How'd that work out? They went up there, oh, the black men America, I wish they could protect us and like this and whatnot, running their damn mouth and whatnot. How'd that work out? So people bring that bullshit to the continent, you know, and stops here and it stops now. If you got some mental thing and whatnot, stay out of the Pan-African movement, you know? We don't need weaklings and fools. Oh, man, America, I wish I could be protected like that. That didn't last very long, right? Because the Ghanaian men are men like anybody else. When they start checking your ass, you know, I can't believe the police did this. I can't believe this guy tried to do this and everything like that. What do you expect? You just told them that you're over here because the black man in America is no good. They're like, oh, now you're in our land now. So what do you think will happen? They're gonna be like, oh yeah, no. People gotta stop acting so stupid, you know. ES had issues. Yeah, she learned. Talking that shit about black men in America. What happened? She didn't know how to come back, and now she's over there with some husband. But she's a completely different person now. Completely different. She learned. A chain is no stronger than its weakest link. We got too many people that are weak links in this movement. And people see that. So tonight we're just talking about, this is St. Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day for all my sisters out there, brothers out there, get your love on and whatnot. Happy Valentine's Day. But this has been a massacre of these coons, buffoons, Sambos, and stuff like that we're talking about tonight. You know, the Sambo culture is now basically trying to damage the conscious community and everything like that. I've been watching this for years. You know, the conscious community has always been serious and everything like that. We always said that Sambo culture and everything like that was something you saw in the church and everything like that. But now you got people out here browbeating, Samboing, buck dancing, and doing the same thing in the Pan-African world. But we're here to stop that. Anybody else want to get on, brother?
I've been invited, and nobody else seemed to want to jump on in.
That's good.
And I'm just looking through messages. See any one or two that may be okay that
Yeah, we have. Yeah, I agree with you. Somebody said we need apprenticeship and nation building. Yeah, we need the nation building mindset, you know, and we need apprenticeship. Yeah, you know, 50-acre autonomous land, Citadel. I said, yeah. Bottom line, we're working on that in Liberia. You know, we're gonna have more than 50 acres, bro. If somebody that wants to build that or interested in that, you join the BAO social network. You know, we got that in the pipeline. You know, if we want to build communities and everything like that with our own infrastructure, you know, FBA culture is a Sambo. Yeah, it is Sambo culture. Because think about it, they're almost convincing you, right, that there's foundational Black America, and they almost get you. They browbeat you, you know. You know, they put on this act, you know, this whole thing about hating immigrants and stuff like this. They almost got us like, what can you do? Because they say all this stuff. They, like I said, the enemy, they speak in familiar terms. You know, and I said FBA means fuck boys association. You know, say, do you think the African immigrants in to feel the whites more or less provide how blacks feel like? Well, Black African immigrants are betting on white people, right? White people, see, they understand, like I said about the Sambo culture. African immigrants are victims of Black America Sambo culture. We're loud, we're boisterous, we say shit like that. We get what I said, but we don't really have any real power like that. White people, right? They'll smile in Africans' faces, right? They'll still silent. But at the same time, they're in their face because they know they got somebody white in their country robbing them. Black America, we may have our beefs with Africans and everything like that, right? But there's none of us in the Congo right there bleeding people to death. You see the difference? White people will sit there, oh, you Africans, everything like that, to play their game, play this game, knowing that the African will take that smile as for real. The white man is more, million times more dangerous to him than the black man. But on the surface, because we're loud, we're boisterous, and stuff like that, we like talking shit and everything like that. That's our nature. Africans take that as we're more threatening. Well, I'll be honest with you. When I was growing up, I used to have to defend Africans. Africans, you should like this. White. I remember one time, white boys were like basically telling me I had to denounce Africa. You know, they used to be like this. The worst thing you'd be called on the playground was not a nigga, it'd be called an African. And then by the time I became a teenager, I started embracing that shit. You know, I'm an African. You know, I started learning. I started opening my encyclopedia up. Learning Africa has cities, they had history. I learned about the Mali Empire. I learned about stuff like this. So when you call me an African, I took that away from them. You know, I took that power away from them. But a lot of Africans think they'll say African Americans are more racist. African, you will never see to this day an African city, a modern African city, right, or an African next neighborhood on U.S. TV, on U.S. film, or anything, even a music video. It doesn't exist. Because America still has this idea that this is a part of the world that this drought, famine, all the hardship and everything. So therefore, they make African Americans ashamed of Africa. And so since that didn't work, right, and you got people going to Africa, embracing Africa and everything, now they come up with this ADOS FBA stuff. The tensions between black people in America and black people in Africa. And the people who's behind this are the whites. Because they're ready, the whites are ready to have a relationship with Africa outside of black people. And that's what they're trying to do. That's why you got people like Afrodamas and Afrodumbass out there talking about, I don't care about slavery. And we wanted to, I had to check this South Sudanese girl on TikTok about slavery had nothing to do with me. It's like, I said, weren't you just enslaved by the Arabs in Darfur? That was just one reason. That's fucking South Sudan, stupid lady. I don't want to think why we have to hate white people because it was slavery. You're in South Sudan. You just got your freedom. You know, you just got off chains. Everybody wants to make their own deal with white America. Only thing standing in their way of getting with white people and having white people come over there is African Americans. And you see that in Liberia. You know, the whites over there don't know. They know that this African American culture and stuff like that is a threat. They know this is one part of Africa they can't control. Also, we can see we create interns with black students in Africa where upright professionals gain experience. Yeah. We need that. We need basically more exchanges and stuff like that, you know, outside the Negropean concept. You got too many Africans that, you know, that not, you know, acclimated to the pan-African world and stuff like that. You know, unfortunately, you got tensions between black African Americans and Africans on college campus. But these are just kids. You know, these are kids. They don't understand better, you know. You know, they have stupid stuff like who's better, African Americans, Africans, all this stupid stuff that you see on social media. Social media is destroying black American relationships, man and woman. It's destroying relationships between Africans and African Americans. All we can do is just say on this channel and this movement right here, the BAO, that don't exist. We're unified. Well, outside of the BAO and outside of Africans and stuff like that, we're the last holdout. Everybody else is trying to squat up and, oh, yeah, ADOS, FBA, and all kinds of stuff like that. They don't see the bigger picture. You know? So.
Yes, Kala, live and uncut, brother. How you feeling, man? It look like it's about time, brother. So let's close on. I'm gonna flip this.
Okay. My parting words, folks. Like, you can stay on a little bit longer. My parting words is join the BAIO Global Pipeline. Download the app. Social network and everything. Hook up with your local chapter, state chapter, and the country that you're destined in. All these countries have members in there. Start doing friend requests. Start linking up with people, because the BAO is a big network. Inside and outside the social network. And we're basically, we have an ideology. See, people basically is based on Black consciousness, and Black love and everything. If you don't have that, freedom, justice, and equality, and nation building as an end game, our ideology is that we want to create an Afrikstan. We want to create this one super state of Africa, right? That we all participate in building the new frontier of Africa and everything. And the African society some people are satisfied with what they got, but those African countries that want to build, host us to build our cities and territories and everything, that's going to connect with the global Africa. We don't have to have the whole continent right now, Those of us who help us build our cities and towns and infrastructure on the continent, they're going to be connected with us, and that's what we should do. But anyway, Bomani, man, I'm tired, man. This morning.
Here you go, brother. Keep it strong. Get some rest. We connect next time. So, family, we are closing out. So, thanks for joining us. And we will connect with you another live. And here is some farewell music.
Right.